Chapter 118. Li Chengqian's words were full of sarcasm. Although he didn't directly say it aloud, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were both smart people, and naturally knew the anger hidden in his voice. What kind of business does Prime Minister Li have with us? Di Beichun's expression was calm, acting as if the one Li Chengqian was mocking wasn't him, and got straight to the point. An instant of bewilderment flashed in Li Chengqian's eyes. Di Beichun never had any kind of status, so according to reason, he should have already been shivering in fear and trepidation. But now as Di Beichun opened his mouth to speak, an imposing aura erupted, filling the air. It was even enough to make him feel pressured. Exactly because of such pressure, Li Chengqian didn't press any further. I came here today to ask a favor from Chen Wangfei. Her beautiful face held a touch of confusion. Bailey Hongzhuang asked, "Ask me?" Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's honest confusion, Li Chengqian's heart grew a little anxious. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang truly didn't have anything to do with this? From the moment he started speaking, he had always been observing Bailey Hongzhuang. If this really was Bailey Hongzhuang's doing, she shouldn't have been able to hide it so well. Recently, strange blemishes had begun to appear on my daughter's face for no reason at all, and hopes Chen Wangfei would be able to treat this. Li Chengqian slowly spoke. Even though he was the one asking for Bailey Hongzhuang's help, Li Chengqian's face was still as haughty as before. Coming here with his identity, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't dare refuse. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faintly discernible cold smile, as she stared at Li Yuyue, who was standing behind Li Chengqian, her voice provocative. "Miss Li came to ask for my help?" Li Yuyue was very unwilling, coming to the prince's palace. She had previously wanted to make a show out of Bailey Hongzhuang, but now she has lowered her head to Bailey Hongzhuang for a favor. Like this, where would her face go? "Ask you." When Li Yuyue heard Bailey Hongzhuang's provocative tone, her face instantly flushed red. "You're dreaming." "Oh," Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. "Then please go back. I'm very busy with other things." Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude was lazy, her words seeming very indifferent. In fact, she had never intended to give Li Yuyue the medicine from the start. She was never a kind-hearted person. Those that offend her must prepare to pay a price. Li Yuyue was startled. She never thought that even with Li Chengqian present, Bailey Hongzhuang would still dare to act so arrogant. "Bailey Hongzhuang, you clearly know my identity. You actually dare to refuse." Li Chengqian's face was gloomy. This Bailey Hongzhuang truly didn't know what was good for her. An utterly enchanting smile bloomed from the corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. "Li Yuyue, weren't you also saying this sentence earlier?" The light in her eyes grew impatient. Bailey Hongzhuang thought that Li Yuyue was truly an idiot without brains, doing nothing all day but using her identity to bully people. Apart from this, she simply didn't have anything else. Audacious. Li Chengqian was angry. "Bailey Hongzhuang, I am the grand and magnificent Prime Minister. Those who dare to offend me, do you know their fates?" Bailey Hongzhuang's smile slowly turned cold, her voice containing a bone-chilling iciness. "In any case, I am the Chen Wangfei. As the Prime Minister, what can you do to me? If you have the ability, do it directly. Don't stay here to speak a pile of rubbish. I'm too lazy to listen." Hearing her words, Li Chengqian was unable to restrain his anger. With his identity and position, whoever in the imperial court would yield to him, or at least give him some face. This Bailey Hongzhuang actually had the impertinence to challenge him, simply courting death. "Bailey Hongzhuang, do you think your life will be happy as Chen Wangfei? Chen Wang is only a bastard child, and isn't even favored by the emperor. Like this, what are you going to be?" Li Chengqian shouted. Because Li Chengqian was so furious, he didn't think of any consequences and directly spat the words out. Almost everyone knew Chen Wang was the bastard child of Xianyuan Yutian, but almost nobody dared to speak it aloud in front of others. When Li Chengqian said these words, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly felt a low pressure surrounding her, almost making it hard to even breathe. "Are you aware of what you're saying?" An icy, constrained voice suddenly sounded. Di Beichun's eyes seemed to hold a terrifying storm, like a black hole containing unimaginable power. Li Chengqian was startled. Only after spitting those words out did he regret them. Even if it was true, anything that related to the imperial household's prestige mustn't be talked upon lightly. If this were to be passed on to the emperor, he'd be completely out of luck. Sensing Di Beichen's cold, acute gaze, Li Changqian could only feel as if he was being stared at by a fierce beast, his whole body freezing up, becoming hard to even breathe. His eyes slowly widened. Li Changqian looked at Di Beichen stunned. Before, he had only thought Di Beichen was a cripple without the least bit of power. But Li Changqian never thought he could actually also be so frightening. Although faint, he almost felt the same fear standing in front of Di Beichen as standing in front of the emperor. How could it be possible? Li Changqian felt stunned by his thoughts. His imposing aura was simply too astonishing. How could Di Beichen have changed so much after marrying? Seeing Di Beichen actually dare to threaten Li Changqian, Li Yue's voice was furious. You, a cripple, dares to threaten my father. What do you see us as? Saying this, Li Yue turned to face Bailey Hongzhuang arrogantly. Bailey Hongzhuang, you. Before Li Yue could finish her sentence, Bailey Hongzhuang heard a loud noise followed almost immediately with a mad screech from Li Yue. Because right when Li Yue started to speak, Heimu acted. It was simple but ruthless. One fist directly met Li Yue's body, blasting her straight outside the lobby, smashing through the front door, before landing in the yard. Heimu's eyes flashed with excitement. For these 3 past years, he was always forced to restrain his killing intent whenever his little lord was insulted and humiliated. His little lord had never let him act. But today, his little lord actually allowed him. Just from little lord's attitude in allowing him to take action, Heimu knew that they would no longer have to endure silently. Just the thought of this made his heart beat with excitement. Li Changqian was stupefied by what had just occurred. Everything happened in a few mere seconds. Before he could even react, Li Yue was already seriously injured. Di Beichen, you're done for. Li Changqian's face turned extremely ugly. He simply couldn't believe the scene before his eyes was actually real. The until now always bullied and humiliated Di Beichen actually dared to strike against his daughter? Old scoundrel, I'm giving you a chance. If you don't get lost right now, I won't mind having you fly out as well. Di Beichen's face was indifferent, playing down the scene as if it was no different from kicking out a dog. Good. Good. Li Changqian's face paled, his eyes containing nothing but fury. Di Beichen, you'll definitely regret this. Scram. Li Changqian immediately left the lobby, dragging Li Yue behind him as they left Prince Chen's mansion. In his heart he secretly vowed to take revenge. Bailey Hongzhuang raised a slender brow. The scene before her was even more brilliant than she had thought it'd be. Chapter 120. Wifey, were you taken breathless by your hubby? Turning his head, a bewitching smile formed on Di Beichen's face as he gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang teasingly. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help be startled at the speed Di Beichen's expression changed. Speechless, look at yourself first. Aren't you the one breathless? Although she said that, the smile in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes actually deepened. From Di Beichen's actions today, she clearly understood what he wanted to do. Even a fish, upon encountering difficulties, could become a dragon. Di Beichen was never destined to live his life curled up in the tiny Fengbo country. Now that his legs were cured, the ambitions in his heart would naturally arise. They happily talked with each other until they arrived at their rooms, but they didn't mention Li Yue at all. In fact, they never even placed Li Yue in their eyes. In the deep moonlight, the wind was cold like water. The light of the moon shone clearly through the window into the room, glimmering over Di Beichen at the side of the window, a pondering look appearing on his unusually handsome face. Little Lord. Heimu stood perfectly straight, saluting behind Di Beichen. Di Beichen didn't turn around, and only gazed at the bodies of stars in the night sky, his eyes hazy. Are all the preparations complete? Heimu nodded his head, answering the little lord. Everything is already prepared. Tomorrow we will leave Fengbo country. You guard Hongzhuang in secret. No matter what, you must protect her. Di Beichen ordered. Heimu understands. Looking at his tall and straight posture, Heimu's eyes slowly changed. Little Lord truly does treat Lady Bailey differently. Originally, his little lord used to loathe anything that would hinder him. As a result, for the past few years, there was not one person that could enter the little lord's heart. But since Lady Bailey's arrival, it all seemed to change. Little Lord even left him here to guard her. This alone was enough to show her importance in the little lord's heart. Dibei-chan waved his hand and Heimu left promptly. Little Lord wanted to depart tomorrow, so he probably had many things to talk about with Lady Bailey. Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in her room when she suddenly heard a burst of movement outside the door. Dibei-chan directly pushed open the door and entered. Could you at least knock on the door before entering? Bailey Hongzhuang was completely speechless. How would she face him if Dibei-chan were to accidentally see her while she happened to be changing clothes or something? Dibei-chan smiled ambiguously at Bailey Hongzhuang. You're already my wifey, how could you still see me as an outsider? Not regarding somebody as an outsider doesn't seem to be a very good idea. Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow without another word before sitting down and pouring herself a cup of tea. Coming to find me so late at night, is something wrong? The teasing look disappeared from Dibei-chan's face, and gazing fixedly at Bailey Hongzhuang's face he slowly said, I need to leave tomorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes changed a little. Although she had already anticipated Dibei-chan's leave earlier, hearing it now, her heart still couldn't help but tremble. Oh, Bailey Hongzhuang agreed indifferently, her face the same as ever as if she didn't care at all. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang hid her feelings extremely well, Dibei-chan still managed to see through to the turmoil in her heart. His eyes turned a little warm. Dibei-chan took a seat beside Bailey Hongzhuang. His pupils deep like an ocean's gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's that were black as ink, his face serious. I need to go out later. You must take good care of your body. Don't let yourself get injured. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to laugh at the few words Dibei-chan had said, but when she saw the deep worry in Dibei-chan's eyes, her voice got stuck on her throat and she was unable to say anything. I will come back as soon as possible. Chapter 121. Dibei-chan's voice lowered slightly as he gazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's face as if he wanted to engrave her appearance into his very mind. His words were spoken like a promise. He will definitely come back as soon as possible. Once it's solved, he'll immediately look for Bailey Hongzhuang. An ambiguous feeling permeated through the air. Bailey Hongzhuang's face turned a little strange. Dibei-chan was truly devious. I got it, Bailey Hongzhuang said. Even though your legs are cured, your physique still hasn't changed. Dibei-chan's lips curved into a faint smile. A moment ago, just for an instant, he could see Bailey Hongzhuang's cheeks turn red. Evidently, she was too shy and deliberately changed the topic. Okay. Dibei-chan's face held something that was like a smile, yet not a smile. The embarrassed Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too adorable. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head away. She knew clearly just how keen Dibei-chan's senses were, and must have long discovered her changes. She didn't want to look at him. This is for you. Dibei-chan finally broke the silence, handing an heaven-earth bag over to Bailey Hongzhuang. Inside are some resources for your cultivation. At your current stage it's very useful. I don't need it. Bailey Hongzhuang declined. She didn't lack money right now. She could prepare some cultivation resources by herself. But the second the words came out of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth, Dibei-chan refused. Take it. I know you can do it yourself, but even if you want to buy some resources for cultivation, you might not be able to in Fengbo country. Bailey Hongzhuang tried to reject by pushing it away. However, she took it after listening. She knew clearly that Dibei-chan's words were the truth. Although you could buy many things in Fengbo County, a few herbs were very rare. Just for example, Bailey Yuyan had wanted to buy a cultivation pill, but simply couldn't find a way to. Sometimes, even if you had the money to, you still might not be able to buy what you need. Tomorrow's the royal family's hunting competition. You have to perform well. Dibei-chan's eyes were like an abyss, holding a trace of regret. He wanted to accompany Bailey Hongzhuang to join the hunting competition together. But now he couldn't continue to stay. For this, he already waited for 3 full years, so he can't keep waiting anymore. Bailey Hongzhuang raised his eyebrows and asked, what else do you need to worry about this journey? Just take good care of yourself. She understood that Dibei-chan had something very important that he needed to do. In her heart, she sincerely wished him success. As for herself, what did she need to fear? Wifey, are you worried about me? Dibei-chan teased with his eyes full of smiles. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't refuse. Leaving like this, she truly was worried for Dibei-chan's safety. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang admit it directly, Dibei-chan couldn't help but stare blankly. Soon after, a smile filled his handsome face, graceful yet bewitching. I will definitely follow the mistress's orders. Return safely. The next day, the sun shone brightly as if bathing the blue sky. When Bailey Hongzhuang left the house, Dibei-chan already left the Chan manor. Staring at the empty room beside hers, her heart couldn't help but have a burst of disappointment for an instant before a bright and enchanting smile filled her face. Today is the day for her to display her ability. This useless trash should have already been removed. The carriage was long well prepared. Bailey Hongzhuang set off for the royal family's hunting competition site. Heimu followed Bailey Hongzhuang closely behind. According to the orders of the young lord, he only needed to ensure the safety of the girl. In any other case, he does not need to show himself. Chapter 122. Luoxia Mountain was located in the eastern part of Fengbo country, past the imperial palace. The region was vast and not remote, so every time, the royal hunting competition would always be hosted there. When Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at Luoxia Mountain, dozens and dozens of tents were set up, some even far into the distance. Fengbo country's flag danced freely alongside the wind. Imperial bodyguards strictly patrolled the camps as the servant girls busied themselves in the tents. When Chan Wangfei's carriage slowly wheeled in, everybody's eyes all turned to stare. Yesterday, news of Li Changqian being humiliated at Chan Palace had been passed on to almost everybody. Although Li Changqian tried to hide it as much as possible, it was inevitably discovered by some people. Since Li Yuyue became the future crown princess, many people started to pay close attention to the prime minister's mansion. So when the usually high-profile Li Yuyue suddenly began to stay inside, almost everybody thought that it was rather fishy. But Li Changqian, that old fox, arranged everything so that not even one drop of water could leak out, keeping everything secret. Bailey Yuyan still cared especially a lot about Li Yuyue. After all, Li Yuyue was the one that snatched away her heart's love and her position. Before, Li Yuyue always walked in front of her proudly. Suddenly lying low like this simply wasn't her style. Bailey Yuyan quietly asked around. Just as she had expected, the Prime Minister's mansion had been paying close attention to Chan Palace's movements, particularly when Dibei-chan and Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the palace. When Bailey Yuyan heard this, she immediately rushed over wanting to find the reason why, only to see Li Changqian hastily dragging Li Yue out of Chan Palace. The bloodstains left on the floor clearly showed Li Yue was injured. Although she didn't know why Li Changqian and Li Yue went to Chan Palace, if Li Yue got seriously injured, it was no wonder she wasn't here. Whether it was Li Yue or Bailey Hongzhuang, they were all targets Bailey Yuyan loathed, so immediately after finding out, she had to spread the news. The future crown princess was beaten in Chan Palace, and Chan Wangfei was the former crown princess. This fact was simply too overwhelming, attracting everybody's attention. Originally, I heard Li Yuyue spent a lot of effort preparing for the royal family's hunting competition to make a good performance. But today she still hasn't come. It's likely that she must have suffered too great of an injury at Chan Palace. Whether it was Chan Wang or Chan Wangfei, they both seem to have changed a lot after getting married. It looks like they aren't easily bullied anymore. Prime Minister Li already came. Bailey Hongzhuang must have staged a good show, truly letting people look forward to. People busily talked, their eyes flashing with excitement. A good show like this was truly hard to come by. Bailey Yuyan was even more excited. This entire play was staged by her. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang treated her like that. This time, she'll let Bailey Hongzhuang suffer. With the sound of a reminder, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked out of the carriage. A vast hunting field appeared in front of her, surrounded by a bright golden fence. Everywhere was beautiful and noble. The royal hunting competition was set in 3 days. Everybody rested in the rear tents. The hunt was ready to begin, and everybody was already gathered in the field. Everyone stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, an incredulous light in their eyes. Chapter 123. Bailey Hongzhuang wore a long white cheongsam. It fluttered with the cool breeze, joining with her cold temperament as if she was walking on clouds, hazy and touching. Bright golden sunlight shed on her body, like a layer of golden dust, making her appear even more noble and splendid. Every aspect of her face was simply perfect, every action revealing an incomparable elegance. giving people a beautiful pleasure. After not seeing her for some time, Chen Wangfei seemed to have gotten even more beautiful. Nobody knew who said it first, but everyone couldn't help but nod their heads along in agreement. They all thought Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty was all the more moving. The number one beauty of the imperial city was a title only she'd be worthy of. It's no wonder His Highness, the Crown Prince, regretted it so much. Handing over such a great beauty to someone else, who couldn't regret it. These words were undoubtedly all the men's thoughts. If they could have such a beautiful woman, they'd even be willing to give up 10 years of their life. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichan married and already had a bun in the oven for some time, Bailey Hongzhuang was still the most sought-after woman in the imperial city. Bun in the oven pregnant before, they only heard Bailey Hongzhuang was trash that couldn't cultivate. Then even turning blind after, she could be described as a complete tragedy. Nobody paid any notice to Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance. But now that she appeared in front of their eyes, she was like a blazing sun, brilliant rays of light completely overshadowing all the other young misses. They now knew this former cultivation cripple was actually a peerless talent. Hearing the conversations of the crowd, flames of envy leaped into Bailey Yuyan's eyes. Attention whore. Bailey Haoxuan also stared at Bailey Hongzhuang hatefully. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang breaking his arm, even now his injury still wasn't completely healed. He had no way of joining this year's royal hunting competition. Originally he had wanted to make a good performance at the royal hunting feast and bring glory to the general's household. That honor which should have belonged to him was stolen away by Bailey Hongzhuang. Sister, you must help me take revenge. Bailey Haoxuan clenched his fists, malicious light flashing in his eyes, his voice cold and gloomy. Bailey Yuyan nodded her head, the corner of her mouth curling into a vicious smile. Haoxuan, don't worry. Your older sister will definitely avenge you. No matter if it was for you or for myself. This time they must completely throttle Bailey Honghao. With regards to this, they needed to have sufficient preparation. So long as Bailey Hongzhuang comes, she will certainly die. Under everyone's burning eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's face stayed calm as she entered the line. Whether it was her or Di Beichan, neither of them had a good relationship with the chancellors. She didn't need to care about them because whoever stayed to watch the show were all her enemy. Bailey Hongzhuang at all times, why hasn't Chen Wangye still come to protect you? Bailey Yuyan asked. It couldn't be that he didn't dare to come because of his crippled legs, could it? Hearing those words, everyone one after another looked at Bailey Yuyan and Bailey Hongzhuang. Just as expected, as soon as they saw each other, Bailey Yuyan was already picking a fight. Their hearts were also very suspicious. According to reason, Di Beichan and Bailey Hongzhuang should have come together. But why was Bailey Hongzhuang the only one that came? Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bailey Yuyan indifferently, her voice soft and mocking. Ugly person, I already told you not to come out. Why won't you listen to me? Chapter 124. Those simple words stabbed straight in her sore spot. Even now, there wasn't the slightest bit of improvement with the scars on her face. As time went by, she slowly got used to it. But Bailey Hongzhuang's words were simply too rude. Bailey Hongzhuang, what does my ugliness have to do with you? Bailey Yuyan couldn't hide the anger on her face. This woman's would make a person cough blood. What does Di Beichan coming or not have to do with you then? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. With your looks, there's no way my home's Wangye will look at you. Don't delude yourself. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the way everybody looked at Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but change slightly. Could it be that Bailey Yuyan has eyes on Di Beichan? Earlier, Bailey Honghao was meant to marry Xinyuan Huan, but Bailey Yuyan had stolen Xinyuan Huan. Bailey Hongzhuang was now married to Di Beichan. Would Bailey Yuan try to snatch him away too? Seeing everyone stare at her with contempt, Bailey Yuyan's face suddenly changed. I didn't have any notions about Di Beichan. TL's note. The Ra actually said Bailey Hongzhuang, but I believe it's a typo. Then why are you still asking? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent. From beginning to end, her face was always calm and even. But on the contrary, Bailey Yuyan was constantly hopping around in anger, really suspicious. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Bailey Yuyan still couldn't face off against Bailey Hongzhuang. Even though she had started the quarrel, the one ridiculing her the most now was Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan seemed to be stomping around in anger similar the ugly duckling, whereas Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be a true noblewoman. Sensing the crowd's gaze change, Bailey Yuyan's face turned ugly. She had always wanted to take revenge on Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everybody, but every time, it never seemed to end well. Sister, there's no need to take part in her nonsense. There will be plenty of time to make that trash lose face soon. Noticing the awkward position Bailey Yuyan was in, Bailey Haoxuan immediately started ridiculing her too. Bailey Yuyan nodded her head slightly, coldly snorting. Her mouth couldn't match Bailey Hongzhuang's, but she only needed a moment for the hunting feast to begin before she forces Bailey Hongzhuang to kowtow and beg forgiveness from her. The smirk on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips didn't change while Bailey Haoxuan looked at her with disgust. Defeated by my hand, what qualifications do you have? Hearing her words, Bailey Haoxuan's face instantly turned ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang had truly hit it where it hurts. From childhood, he had never placed Bailey Hongzhuang into his eyes. Under his hand, that trash would only be led to a dead end. But this time he was actually defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Beaten by trash, wouldn't that mean he was trash below trash? Bailey Hongzhuang, last time you were only full of tricks. This time you'll die a very ugly death, Bailey Haoxuan said while clenching his teeth enraged. He really regretted not being able to kill Bailey Hongzhuang right then. Everybody looked at each other in dismay. Bailey Hongzhuang and the general's household's relationship has truly become irreconcilable, even having no misgivings, leaving no face in front of so many people. While the crowd was talking, the emperor, empress and his highness, the crown prince slowly walked in like stars around the moon, attracting everyone's attention. Everybody watched until the empress and emperor sat down, smiling. Today is the day of the royal family's hunting competition. I hope that the younger generation can show a good performance. Cultivation was the most important thing in the Shangxian continent. The younger generation he was facing now would very likely be the future dynasty's cornerstone and tower of strength. Therefore, he valued them all very much. The younger generation's faces shone with excitement. This was the royal family's hunting competition. If they showed a good performance and managed to attract the emperor's attention, their future would be very bright. Whoever can win first place in today's hunting competition will get a beast pet. The next moment, Xinyuan Yutian words were like dropping a stone into a calm pond, creating many waves. Everybody couldn't help but stare, eyes wide as they looked at Xinyuan Yutian excitedly. A beast pet, that was something everyone longed for. In the Shangxian continent, there were some demonic beasts that were caught and trained from a young age. If you could contract with such a creature, they would become your most faithful partner in your lifetime. A human's heart was unpredictable. A beast pet was truly the most trustworthy. Beast pets had different levels of strength, but they were all very rare and precious. They were something common people simply couldn't have. Even the sons and daughters of government officials couldn't afford them. So when Xinyuan Yutian announced beast pets as the reward, everybody grew excited. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also changed slightly. There was always a reward for the top 3 in the royal hunting competition, but it was the first time the prize was so extravagant. She was also very interested in this beast pet. She had to get first place. Sensing the crowd's fervent, fiery eyes, Xinyuan Yutian's smile widened. This was the effect he had wanted. This year's royal hunting feast was somewhat different from the usual. He needed to spark the younger generation's potential. Know that there are other people watching the royal hunting competition as well. In addition to the first place's beast spirit, second place will get a bone cleansing pill, and third place receives a lotus cloud fungoid. With every word Xinyuan Yutian spoke, their eyes grew more and more fervid. The rewards this time are really rich. The royal family's capital is truly deep. This is the first time I saw such lavish awards. They're really lucky to participate in this year's royal hunting contest. Everyone couldn't help but have a burst of envy. Who knew who could get into the top 3 this time? The rewards were just too enticing. Bailey Yuyan's face was filled with hard-to-hide excitement. Getting first place was simply a golden opportunity bestowed by heaven for her. In the past, she was always competing with Li Yuyue. But now she's injured and unable to take part in the royal hunting contest. Although the other cultivators' strength weren't bad, there was still quite a gap between her and them. Although Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be able to compete now, She was definitely not her opponent. This way Xian Yuanhuan would win first place, and she would at least have second place on her hands. Although she really wanted the beast pet, if Xian Yuanhuan became first, she could accept it. Xian Yuanhuan arrived at the hunting ground, his eyes going straight to Bailey Hongzhuang. In the time he didn't see her, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have grown even more beautiful and enchanting. Could it be that she truly loves Di Beichen? Because she loved Di Beichen, after marrying, she became all the more beautiful and alluring. Thinking of this, an uncontrollable and frantic jealousy filled Xian Yuanhuan. This was the woman he fancied. That Di Beichen trash dared to snatch her away. Master, that Xian Yuanhuan keeps on staring at you. Little Black couldn't help but say. That sort of undisguised gaze was difficult to ignore, but she already had no interest in Xian Yuanhuan whatsoever. Bailey Hongzhuang chucked a bit, just let him. Little Black grinned. Master's charm is truly unlimited. Chapter 126. Xian Yuan Yuqian swept over the crowd of youths before finally stopping on Li Changqian, his gaze revealing a trace of suspicion. Prime Minister Li, why don't I see Li Yue? Li Yue was the future crown prince Wang Fei. If she could give a good performance at the royal hunting competition, she would become much more respected. When Zuan Yuanhuan spoke, everyone's faces looked as if they were preparing to watch a good play. The atmosphere turned tense. Li Changqian was just waiting for a chance to teach Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen a lesson. If the emperor just so happened to mention it, he could take the chance to strike. Just as expected, Li Changqian's face instantly flushed with anger. His eyes stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, filled with rage as if he wanted to boil her into stew right then and there. You should ask Chen Wangfei about this, Li Changqian said coldly. Hearing his words, Xian Yuan Yuqian looked at Bailey Hongzhuang astonished. He had heard before that Bailey Hongzhuang and Li Yue had a conflict in Nikhang Market. Could this be related to that? Prime Minister Li, speak clearly. I can't understand what you mean. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent. Even though she knew Li Changqian would definitely seize the opportunity to attack her, she simply didn't care. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's attitude, Li Changqian's eyes were replaced with hatred. Emperor, right now Chen Wang and Chen Wangfei are acting so arrogant as if no one else mattered. Yesterday at Chen Wang's hand, Yue was actually injured. Yue truly wanted to take part in the royal hunting competition, but her injury was actually very severe, and was in no condition to participate in the competition. Li Changqian's voice grew more and more emotional. Emperor, you must give Yue justice. Xian Yuan Yuqian and Jiang Jining's faces changed when they heard his words. From Li Changqian's words, they knew that it must be true. But up until today, Di Beichen was always bearing it patiently. Why would he suddenly change his attitude now? But they knew Di Beichen's original identity. However, for the past 3 years, Di Beichen had always been low-key and enduring it silently. They had thought Di Beichen no longer had any prospects, so they grew more and more careless about him. Now Di Beichen's attitude suddenly changed back to his original mannerisms. Is it because he wanted to protect Bailey Hongzhuang? Or could it be he finally had the resources to go back? Thinking what might happen, Xian Yuan Yuqian and Jiang Jining's hearts trembled. If it was truly such, Di Beichen must not be allowed. Chen Wangfei, do you have anything to say? Xian Yuan Yuqian asked, remaining calm and collected. Li Changqian's status in Fengbo country wasn't ordinary. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shined with scorn, asking, Prime Minister Chen avoided the important and only spoke of trivial things. Why don't you say why you came to the prince's palace in the first place? Hearing her words, everyone couldn't help but look at Li Changqian curiously. Even now, they all thought it was very strange that Li Changqian and Li Yue had gone to Chen Palace. It was just too odd. Li Changqian's face changed slightly, his brain continually thinking of excuses why Li Yue couldn't come to the royal hunting competition. Although he was ashamed and resentful about Li Yue getting wounded yesterday, it gave him a very good excuse for him to cover everything up. He didn't know how so many people already knew of this, but right now it was better to just say it instead of hiding it. Whether it was Di Beichen or Bailey Hongzhuang, nobody could compare to his status and identity. From what he saw of the emperor's attitude to Di Beichen, he was sure the emperor would stand on his side. Chapter 127. A few days ago, Yue and Chan Wangfei had a little conflict, so I brought Yue to Chan Palace to clear the resentment between us. But I didn't expect for Chan Wangfei to speak so rudely or for Chan Wangye to actually send someone to seriously wound Yue. Chan Wangye and Chan Wangfei's conduct is just truly too much. Li Chengqian's words were filled with righteousness, acting as if Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's actions were disgraceful and outrageous. Facing Li Chengqian's criticism, the scorn in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes only grew deeper as her lips widened into a smile. Prime Minister Li, how could you not blush saying such things? What I said were facts, why would I blush? Li Chengqian insisted. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at the crowd around them. Prime Minister Li might as well ask everyone here. Does anyone think he is saying the truth? Everyone lowered their heads one after another. In fact, nobody believed Li Chengqian's words were the truth. With Li Chengqian and Li Yue's temper, not forcing Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang kowtow in an apology would already be pretty good. Going personally to seek reconciliation, how could that be possible? Seeing everyone's faces, Li Chengqian's complexion turned ugly. What do you mean? Justice for myself is the will of the people. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. Since you brought up the topic yourself, I don't mind saying the truth. Emperor, yesterday Li Chengqian and Li Yue went to Chan Palace just to speak rudely, ordering people by pointing the chin to make me treat an illness. Then he made jeering remarks, saying Wang Ye was your illegitimate child. So in his anger, Wang Ye sent someone to take action. Everybody sucked in a cold breath as Bailey Hongzhuang finished her words, staring at her shock. Until now, news of Di Beichen being the emperor's illegitimate child was always spread around secretly. Although Xianyuan Yuqian already heard of it, nobody would dare to say come out and say it directly. But didn't Bailey Hongzhuang just do that? Xianyuan Yuqian's brows couldn't help but raise. Is this true? Emperor, you cannot listen to her drivel. Li Chengqian immediately tried to justify himself. If even a bit was revealed, his position was at risk. Bailey Hongzhuang is saying this to escape the blame. Emperor, please see clearly. Emperor, Li Chengqian was always trying to hide that Li Yue's face had gotten a disease. Even today, in order to conceal it, he shrank from responsibility and tried to push all the blame onto my body. As long as Emperor sends someone to the Prime Minister's mansion, you will understand. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to remain calm. As early as yesterday, she had already expected for something like this to happen. Li Chengqian's position was rather high, and would surely try to avoid all responsibility while pushing it all onto her. But apart from the Emperor and Empress, nobody knew of Di Beichen's identity. Therefore, along with Di Beichen's sudden rise, their positions would be incomparable. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang speak so reasonably, everybody was somewhat partial to Bailey Hongzhuang. After all, Li Yue not coming today was just too suspicious. Li Chengqian instantly turned ugly. In accordance with his plan, the emperor shouldn't have allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to even explain. But the situation right now was entirely different from what he had thought. Emperor, Li Chengqian still wanted to explain. If the emperor truly sent a person to check the prime minister's mansion, the secret would no longer be possible to cover up. Xianyuan Yuqian waved his hand. This affair will stay in the royal hunting competition, and will be discussed after. Chapter 128. At this very moment, Xianyuan Yuqian's heart simply wasn't into it. He only wanted to understand why Di Beichen suddenly changed. Before he found out why, he would not make a decision. Looking at Xianyuan Yuqian's attitude, Li Chengqian didn't dare to be wordy. He held a faint feeling in his heart. Li Yue's dream of becoming the crown princess Wangfei was finished. Bailey Yuyan's eyes twinkled with excitement. Whatever the final result was, it would either be Bailey Hongzhuang's or Li Yue's downfall. Both were what she had wanted. This time she really made a good move. Like this, the Prime Minister's mansion and Chan Palace had become complete enemies. She truly didn't break a sweat defeating her rivals. Suddenly, Bailey Yuyan sensed Bailey Hongzhuang smiling as she stared at her. Bailey Hongzhuang's two pitch-black eyes seemed to be able to pierce through a person's heart. Like all her thoughts were exposed with nowhere to hide. She knew. From Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, Bailey Yuyan was sure Bailey Hongzhuang knew everything she had done. How was it possible? Bailey Yuyan couldn't help but be scared, but then quickly calmed down. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang knew, what proof did she have? Note: Ross used Bailey Hongzhuang, but I'm assuming it's a typo. A moment later, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile. She slowly raised her right hand. While no one was watching, she looked at her and gave her a throat-cut gesture. Bailey Yuyan's mind couldn't help but shake, a trace of chilliness making its way into her heart. When she looked at her again, Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer staring at her. The Royal Hunting Competition's rules are as followed. Luoxia Mountain only has one storm wolf. Whoever is capable of beheading the storm wolf and bringing back its demonic crystal will be first place. In addition to this, second and third place will be awarded according to the number of demonic beasts you kill. Hearing the name Storm Wolf, the competing younger generation's faces all changed. A storm wolf's strength was equivalent to the cultivation of late-stage, mysterious earth. But its body was very nimble and was very fast. Its speed was like a ferocious storm, hence the name. But even though on paper it only said the storm wolf was at the late-stage, mysterious earth, in fact, it was very difficult for cultivators of late-stage, mysterious heaven to kill it. This time, although the hunting competition's rewards were unprecedentedly rich, the trials were also very big. The Royal Hunting Competition officially begins. With a wave of Xinyuan Yutian's hand, the curtain to the hunting competition opened. The minds of everybody competing were cold. Today it was their stage to reveal their strengths. All the youths conferred with their family elders. They needed to choose a good colt to ride into the hunting field. "Father, I will work hard." Bailey Yuyan's face was serious. For her, this was her last chance. If she couldn't give a good performance today, she needn't think about going out into the sun again. Bailey Zhentao slowly nodded his head. Originally he had wanted for Bailey Haoxuan and Bailey Yuyan to perform well in the hunting competition together. But now he could only rely on Bailey Yuyan. These days, more and more troubles emerged for the general's household. If Bailey Yuyan could get into the top 3, some of the negativity surrounding the general's household will loosen. Perform well. Bailey Zhentao clapped Bailey Yuyan's shoulder, his face holding a comforting smile. Although Bailey Hongzhuang prevented Bailey Haoxuan from competing, Bailey Yuyan's rival also wasn't able to compete. This time, the Prime Minister's household was doomed to fail. Chapter 129. Not many could match Bailey Yuyan's strength in the younger generation. Taking the top 3 wasn't hard at all. Saying this, Bailey Zhentao couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since the day Bailey Hongzhuang blocked his fist, he already knew Bailey Hongzhuang was able to cultivate and was actually not at all weak. But it was only the touch of a fist. He had no idea how strong Bailey Hongzhuang truly was. Bailey Hongzhuang picked out a fine black horse. She stood up and saddled the horse before raising a whip, urging it to the hunting field. Everybody watched Bailey Hongzhuang go inside the hunting field, their eyes all reflecting shock. Wasn't Chen Wangfei incapable of cultivating? She actually dared to enter the hunting field alone. If she came across a demonic beast, wouldn't she die? Demonic beasts were ruthless. Every time a royal hunting competition was hosted, there would always be some deaths. Therefore, if one of the younger generations was too weak, they wouldn't dare to join. But Bailey Hongzhuang was known in the imperial city as trash. Now entering the hunting field alone, wasn't she simply courting death? Your information must be too old. Before at Godly Doctor Square, Chen Wangfei defeated Bailey Haoxuan. Bailey Haoxuan was truly strong at mysterious earth middle-staged cultivation. Is that true? But I heard the general's household say Chen Wangfei used some kind of trick to overpower Bailey Haoxuan. If she was truly able to cultivate, why would she have always held the title of trash in cultivation? Listening, everybody was uncertain. In fact, everything they knew was only hearsay. Nobody knew what was true and what was false about Bailey Hongzhuang. In my opinion, I think Chen Wangfei used many tricks to win at that time. Otherwise, why would the general's household always treat her as a disgrace? Everybody nodded. A few couldn't help but sympathize with Bailey Hongzhuang. Dibei Chan wasn't participating in the hunting competition. Bailey Hongzhuang was unable to cultivate. If she meets Bailey Yuyan, what good result could she have? In the hunting field, life and death were only natural. Anything could happen. Based on how much Bailey Yuyan despised Bailey Hongzhuang, she would definitely find a secluded place to quietly kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Then Dibei Chan would have no way of helping. Sister, you must succeed, Bailey Haoxuan shouted. Bailey Yuyan looked at Bailey Haoxuan, and then saw Su Wanjing glance at her. Bailey Yuyan shouted back, rest assured. I will definitely settle this perfectly. Having said that, Bailey Yuyan urged her horse into the forest with a whip. She had to find Bailey Hongzhuang and finish her. The hunting competition lasts for 3 days. All the participating cultivators must survive until the last day before coming out. The royal family's imperial guards also patrolled the hunting field, conveying information into the outside. Yu Xinyuan Yutian first sent out people to look for news about Di Beichan. He needed to know what Di Beichan was thinking. In the hunting field, everywhere was filled with trees reaching as high as the sky. The morning sun peeked through the trees, revealing sparse rays of light. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the mountain range. The environment was quiet. The only sound was the horse's trotting footsteps. Hearing the words, Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Her deep black eyes, deep as a well, flashed with alarm and suspicion. Chapter 130. The two black and white fluff balls always had good talent. After cultivating for so many years in the primordial chaos ring, no matter if it was mind or body, they were very strong. To say the least, right now she was no match for the two fellows. But since she wanted to increase her strength as fast as possible, she had usually never let the two fluff balls come out. She firmly believed Little White's judgment. The royal hunting competition this year is very different from the previous ones. Bailey Hongzhuang's black pupils contain thoughtfulness. Just that the awards are incomparable to the former years. Something abnormal must have happened. If there wasn't something wrong, it'd be impossible for the royal family to give such a heavy reward. These people must only be observing the situation in the hunting competition, and probably aren't dangerous, Little Black slowly said. It could sense the meaning behind the searching gazes, and knew that they didn't have a target or particular goal. They only wanted to clearly watch Bailey Hongzhuang's performance in the hunting competition. Hearing its words, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head. It doesn't matter what their goal is so long as I get what I need. As for anything else, she just didn't care. For the participating cultivators, a storm wolf really isn't an easy test. Little Black smiled. If a cultivator with insufficient strength were to run into the storm wolf, it was very much possible for them to lose their lives. But with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, it posed no threat at all. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. The most troublesome thing isn't necessarily the storm wolf, but the people. Xinyuan Yutian said it very clearly. Whoever could return with the storm wolf's crystal would be the victor. As for who killed the storm wolf, it didn't matter. Whoever could get the wolf's crystal and successfully appear in front of Xinyuan Yutian was the most important. She was almost certain that the overwhelming majority of the cultivators didn't think about how to kill the storm wolf, but how to handle whoever killed the storm wolf. Little Black and Little White fell silent. This was something they were very clear about. Usually cultivators had their own group or school they belonged to, so it was very rare for a cultivator to be alone like Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what are you planning? Little Black couldn't help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. Let nature take its course. The horse ran through the mountains. Bailey Hongzhuang's posture was unaffected, her eyes always looking for changes in the environment. She was currently in the outer ranges of Luoxia Mountain, which had the least demonic beasts. The deeper she goes in, the higher and higher the chances are of finding demonic beasts. Time slowly passed by. Bailey Hongzhuang's luck was actually pretty good. Even after walking for so long, she still hadn't encountered even a single demonic beast. Master, someone's following us, Little Black said suddenly. Bailey Hongzhuang's face didn't change. Her refined, quiet and exquisite face rippled with a clear smile. Bailey Yuyan is still truly impatient. We'll just let her continue to tail us. There was nothing great about Bailey Yuyan's shadowing technique. She had long discovered her. This woman must be impatient to find a secluded spot to kill her. Her red lips raising slightly, the corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth curved to form an icy sly smile. Since Bailey Yuyan was already itching to get on with it, she'll find a good place for her. Their contradicting views were too strong. One needed to go. Chapter 131. Bailey Yuan carefully followed behind Bailey Hongzhuang's body. Her horse had long been discarded, otherwise its stomping would easily inadvertently alarm Bailey Hongzhuang. She had always been looking for an opportunity to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang, but Chun Palace was always heavily guarded. She was always never able to do a thing. The royal hunting competition was a long-awaited for opportunity. In here, even the heavens wouldn't know that she was the one who killed Bailey Hongzhuang. She had trailed her for the whole journey. Bailey Yuyan discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang was walking to a more and more remote place. Around them, there were already no cultivators in sight. A sinsider smile appeared on her face covered with thick scars. The gods were truly on her side. As she heard the footsteps behind her grow louder and louder, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile grew more and more mocking. Originally she didn't plan on using the royal hunting competition to dispose of Bailey Yuyan. Doing it now seemed very good. Little Black and Little White watched Bailey Yuyan strut towards them, their eyes full of interest as if they were watching a good play. Bailey Hongzhuang, in here, I want to see who can save you. Bailey Yuyan's face was arrogant. At last she no longer needed to hide. The thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance as she kowtowed to her while begging forgiveness couldn't help but give Bailey Yuyan a burst of excitement. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned her body. A faint smile hung on her beautiful, delicate face. I, Bailey Hongzhuang, never needed anybody to protect me. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent face, Bailey Yuyan froze for a second and couldn't help but turn around. Could there be someone else nearby? But when she looked, there was nobody near them at all. Bailey Hongzhuang, daring to boast shamelessly now. You're truly just like a damn duck reluctant to admit its mistakes. She was certain that there wasn't anyone else in the clearing. Bailey Yuyan completely laid down the worries in her heart. With her strength it was just too easy for her to dispose of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands reached to her chest. A shallow smile on her face. You're still talking rubbish. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice dropped, her eyes filled with coldness. She didn't want to waste time on Bailey Yuyan. Since you came to kill me, make a move. Bailey Yuyan was startled. The situation gave her a somewhat unreal feeling. Normally speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should have panicked the moment she saw her, using everything she had to stall for time. But then why did it feel like their positions were swapped? Since you want to die, I'll help you. Bailey Yuyan snorted coldly. The inner force in her body surged up. Without seeing the coffin, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't know fear. First, she'll give her a little taste. Early-stage mysterious Ian rank power instantly flooded out. Bailey Yuyan's eyes were filled with excitement. For the past few days, she was cultivating with all her strength. Even her mother took out everything she had to support her, allowing her to finally break through into the mysterious Ian realm. Apart from the general's household, she didn't tell anyone else. Bailey Yuyan wanted to create a big stir in the royal hunting competition. You're very lucky, being the first one to see the power of a mysterious Ian-ranked cultivator. You're sick. Bailey Hongzhuang's black eyes didn't hold any surprise, not hiding the sneer on her face. She had already predicted that Bailey Yuyan would break through to mysterious Ian realm's early stage. After all, the general's household also didn't lack resources. All of Bailey Jintao's hopes and dreams rested on Bailey Yuyan's shoulders. So naturally, he would be willing to support her. What did you say? Bailey Yuyan raised her voice. Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to say she was sick? Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders indifferently. It's just breaking through, why be so proud? Bailey Yuyan's delicate body trembled. Bailey Hongzhuang's reactions were completely different from her expectations. Why wasn't she the least bit scared when she found out? You. Bailey Yuyan grew angry, her chest heaving up and down. Once I beat you up, you won't dare to be so arrogant. With your skills. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin, eyes full of disdain. She waggled a finger. It's not good enough. Hearing her words, Bailey Yuyan was filled with anger. Let's see if Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to mock her after being beaten to the ground. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils flashed, inner force also surging through her body. Now she can finally avenge the dead Bailey Hongzhuang. But right at that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered a figure approaching them not too far away. Master, that person is Xianyuan Huan. Little Black piped up. Hearing its words, Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her long brows. She didn't expect for Xianyuan Huan to suddenly appear now. Xian Yuan Huan had started looking for Bailey Hongzhuang the second he entered the hunting field. But by the time he entered, he was already late. There were already no traces of Bailey Hongzhuang. He himself also didn't know why he wanted to find Bailey Hongzhuang. Maybe it was because his heart was somewhat unwilling, and find out what Bailey Hongzhuang was doing when all was said and all was done. Suddenly, some noise ahead of him attracted Xian Yuan Huan's attention. The sounds weren't unfamiliar at all to him. It was Bailey Yuyan's voice. "Bailey Yuyan, what are you doing?" Xian Yuan Huan shouted angrily. Bailey Yuyan was actually preparing to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan was just about to swing down her hand to kill Bailey Hongzhuang when she suddenly heard a voice from behind her. She couldn't help but be startled, her fist missing its target. Because of the missed power, Bailey Yuyan's face turned red, receiving some backlash. Xian Yuan Huan finally arrived in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Yuyan. Bailey Yuyan's face changed, her charming face covered with panic. "Your Highness, the Crown Prince, you..." "Bailey Yuyan, this time you actually wanted to kill your own sister. You're truly scorpion-hearted." Xian Yuan Huan lashed out. Bailey Yuyan's face turned pale. She didn't expect Xian Yuan Huan would actually lash out at her so ruthlessly, and all because of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan glared at Bailey Hongzhuang, her eyes full of hatred. "This was all your plan." Now she could understand why Bailey Hongzhuang was so calm and collected. It was all because she was waiting for Xian Yuan Huan to appear. Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat speechless. Bailey Yuyan's imagination was truly too terrible. She already had a plan the minute Bailey Yuyan began following her. When Xian Yuan Huan appeared, he not only ruined Bailey Yuyan's plans but hers as well. "Whatever you think, it didn't matter to Bailey Hongzhuang." Xian Yuan Huan faced Bailey Hongzhuang, his voice a bit gloomy. "Are you okay?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sneered. "Yes, I would like to thank His Highness, the Crown Prince, for his care." Chapter 133. Although Xian Yuan Huan didn't pick a fight with her, Xian Yuan Huan's relationship with the former Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be ignored. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's sarcastic words, Xian Yuan Huan was somewhat embarrassed. Before, he and Bailey Yuyan were always using every possible way to humiliate Bailey Hongzhuang. Caring for her now was indeed somewhat ridiculous. "Your Highness, Crown Prince, what you saw just now isn't what you think," Bailey Yuyan hurriedly tried to explain. Even though she knew it was almost impossible for her and Xian Yuan Huan to be together now, she still loved him. Xian Yuan Huan wrinkled his brows. "I saw everything clearly. What are you trying to explain?" "It's not like that." Bailey Yuyan continued to blabber, her hand pulling at Xian Yuan Huan's arm. She really didn't want Xian Yuan Huan to loathe her. "Master, some cultivators are approaching here," Little White said grudgingly. It had thought Master finally would have been able to teach Bailey Yuyan a lesson, but now they were unable to dispose of her. Bailey Hongzhuang restrained the cold light in her eyes. With so much noise here, it was difficult to avoid attracting attention. Rather than taking action now, it was much better to leave first. "AI, truly a pity, missing such a great opportunity." Little Black sighed with regret. Bailey Yuyan should have long ago been dealt with. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently. "We have 3 days, there'll be plenty of chances." Besides, she didn't even need to bother herself to find Bailey Yuyan. Bailey Yuyan would come to her, and would definitely be dealt with sooner or later. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and walked ahead without the slightest bit of hesitation. Bailey Yuyan and Xian Yuan Huan can become everybody's gossip, but she didn't want to have any relations with those two. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang turning around to leave, Xian Yuan Huan immediately wanted to chase her. However, Bailey Yuyan was still tightly hugging onto his arm. She couldn't allow Xian Yuan Huan to leave like this. If he did, she would never get another chance to explain everything to him again. Xian Yuan Huan's eyes were helpless. He wanted to take back his sleeve from Bailey Yuyan's arms, but he still had to take into account his image in front of all the cultivators watching him. He could only watch Bailey Hongzhuang's figure walk further and further away. To get rid of Xian Yuan Huan, Bailey Hongzhuang considered continuing to walk deeper into Luoxia Mountain, but then changed her mind. She didn't want Xian Yuan Huan to catch up with her. Roar! Suddenly, a demonic beast howled, attracting Bailey Hongzhuang's attention. Her beautiful face turned serious. There was a demonic beast nearby. Boom boom. Just then, Bailey Hongzhuang saw two red beams of light lunging towards her, as fast as lightning. Her heart beat. Bailey Hongzhuang shifted her feet, her figure quickly disappearing and appearing not so far away. The demonic beast clearly didn't give up because of Bailey Hongzhuang's disappearance, its gaze once again turning to stare at her. With a glance, Bailey Hongzhuang instantly recognized the demonic beast that had just attacked her. It was the mysterious Earth Intermediate middle stage demonic beast Firefox. A firefox's entire body was scarlet like a flame. Wherever it lived, the surrounding temperatures will slightly rise. It specialized in speed and sneak attacks, and its nature was warlike. It often takes the initiative to attack cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang wielded a sword, her black pupils glinting coldly. The firefox bared its fangs as it looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, its face fierce. After failing the first time, it appeared to be dissatisfied as it rushed at her once more. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened, the chi in her body surging. In a split second, she reached the firefox and attacked. Chapter 134. You could only see a flash of silver light, together with the sound of something falling to the ground. Thump! The head of the firefox fell to the floor, still bearing its fangs. However, it no longer had any of its former sinister appearance. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly landed on the ground, turning to the firefox's head. Her long double-edged sword moved, directly taking out the crystal from inside its body. With her current strength, a firefox was nothing. As she continued her journey, Bailey Hongzhuang encountered many demonic beasts. But she always disposed of them quickly, as if it was something she did every day. The royal hunting competition was always held at Luoxia Mountain, so the demonic beasts inside were usually roughly the same strength as the cultivators. Otherwise, the younger generation inside would suffer heavy losses. That was not the result the royal family wished to see. Oh! The curtain of night shrouded the earth. The night at Luoxia Mountain was especially clamorous. Demonic beasts always preferred to move at nighttime. Countless screams and roars could be heard inside the mountain range, falling incessantly on the ear. Master, the time is already late. It's better to find a remote place to spend the night. Little Black suggested. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded. I was just looking for a safer area to rest. At nighttime, wanting to rest safely wasn't easy. You needed to avoid the demonic beast's range, or else it'd be near impossible to rest well. She had a lot of experience with mountain ranges. Before, she would often train in the mountains, and clearly understood how to find somewhere to rest. Little Black and Little White's faces were filled with confusion. They actually didn't know what she meant by safer area to rest. Inside the black canopy, a white figure was constantly moving, seeming to be a ghost. A long time later, Bailey Hongzhuang finally found an area she was satisfied with and at once leaned on the tree to rest. Little Black and Little White were very aware that their roles were to guard her. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. Master, why aren't you lighting a fire? Usually in the pitch-black night, people would always set up a bonfire to keep warm. Other cultivators were already lighting their own fires, but they discovered that their master had no intentions of making her own. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled gently. Low-level demonic beasts are very sensitive to flames. If someone lights a fire, they would attract many demonic beasts. Cultivators with experience would usually not choose to light a fire, because it was tantamount to directly revealing your location. Even if the demonic beasts were nothing to some cultivators, they might still bring about hidden troubles. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the confusion in Little Black and Little White's eyes changed into adoration. Sure enough, Master was the best. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and entered a state of cultivation. The power in the mountain ranges are very rich and very beneficial to her cultivation. Oh! The many cultivators resting in Luoxia Mountain had no idea that everything they did were being watched by other people. I heard that in the Imperial City, Bailey Hongzhuang was known as trash. But now it seems that her aptitude is even better than many of the others. A man dressed in black robes stood, his eyes flashing with appreciation as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's body amongst all the other cultivators. Earlier, Bailey Yin thought to destroy Bailey Hongzhuang. Now I think Bailey Hongzhuang movements will be interrupted. Fu Hongbo smiled faintly. Lu Huayan nodded. The other cultivators have already started to form teams, but this girl still intends to stay alone. At Bailey Hongzhuang's age, it wasn't easy to spend the night alone, let alone compete against almost all of the cultivators' experience. Chapter 135. Only if they could find teammates to rotate the night vigil with, can they have a good rest. Almost every competitor was like this, but only Bailey Hongzhuang was an exception. I like this girl. Fu Hongbo's lips formed a faint smile, now, apart from the usual scattered loose outside. It's not easy to find such a girl with such a strong will in a royal's family hunting competition. Hearing so, Lu Huayan's eyes also flickered with approval. These days, there are less and less good seedlings inside the officials' homes. I still found a few I like with rather ordinary talents amongst the younger generation, but this is the first time a royal hunting competition is so interesting. Save me. Is there anyone? Help ah! A panicked cry for help echoed not too far away, the voice full of extreme fear and dread. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, looking in the direction of the voice. Not saying anything further, she turned and walked over to the source of the screams. Little Black and Little White shared a glance. Their master would never make a loss. With her temper, it was impossible that she'd save somebody for no cause or reason. As Bailey Hongzhuang gradually approached, the fire blazed eye-catchingly in the night. Really? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was calm. She was already sure that the other party's trouble was because of the demonic beasts attracted by the fire. In her sight, she could see the figures of a man and woman besieged by 4 flame civets. Flame civets were especially sensitive to fires. As long as there was a flame in the open, it would be attracted to go there. But she didn't expect for there to actually be so many flame civets on Luoxia Mountain. The man and woman were both at Mysterious Earth's intermediate stage, the same as the flame civet. But there were more flame civets than them, and coupled with their panic, lead to a huge loss in fighting strength. Only a short time had passed, and there were already countless scars on their bodies. Xiao Shifan and Zhao Yunqian's heart were filled with extreme fear. They also didn't expect for so many flame civets to suddenly appear. The two of them weren't the flame civets' opponents. Sooner or later they would die there. Yet when nobody came despite their cries for help, the two's hearts slowly lost all hope. In the past years, there was never a lack of fallen participants during the royal hunting competition, and it seemed like the two would be part of the dead ones of this year. At this moment, Xiao Zifen suddenly discovered a movement in front of them. A white figure appeared, facing them. Suddenly he became ecstatic. "Miss, please help us, we'll always be thankful to you." They were the same lever as the flame civets, but there were more flame civets, leading to their current situation. But if this girl could join them, the situation could still be changed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't even glance at them. She only turned around and walked away. Her bright, limpid eyes held a trace of disappointment. She had thought that the storm wolf appeared, but didn't expect it was only 4 flame civets and that they were just making a fuss about nothing. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang instantly turn around, Zhao Yunqian recognized Bailey Hongzhuang's identity. The hope on Zhao Yunqian's face immediately disappeared. Right now, the whole situation could be turned around if anyone joined. Anyone but Bailey Hongzhuang. Who didn't know that Bailey Hongzhuang was trash that couldn't cultivate? She coming here was simply courting death. "Miss?" Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang ignoring his call for help and turn around to walk away, Xiao Zifen couldn't help but shout again. Zhao Yunqian interrupted Xiao Zifen's shout. "Xiao Zifen, it's useless to ask for help. Bailey Hongzhuang is that trash who can't help us at all." Chapter 136. Hearing it was actually Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifen's face became difficult to look at. He had finally seen a ray of hope in the crossroad between life and death, but didn't think the one who had come was Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang appear, one of the flame civets recognized her as an attack target and immediately rushed over to Bailey Hongzhuang. "Chen Wangfei, watch out!" Xiao Zifen warned her immediately. Today it was his calamity. Although he wasn't very close to Bailey Hongzhuang, he still didn't want to see her die because of him. Sensing the flame civet rapidly rushing towards her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with coldness. Her sword came out at speed like lightning. Only a silver flash was visible before Bailey Hongzhuang withdrew her sword. Laying on the ground, The flame civet already couldn't make a sound. Seeing what had happened, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian stood in shock. Staring with their eyes opened agape, they couldn't believe all what happened in front of them had been real. That was a mysterious Earth Intermediate staged flame civet. Ah! Did Bailey Hongzhuang actually just kill a flame civet with a single move? Even before the two of them could see the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang clearly, everything had already ended. Zhao Yifan's mouth sputtered. Bailey Hongzhuang was actually so powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that they were still being attacked by the flame civets, Zhao Yunqian truly wanted to rub her eyes just to make sure what she was seeing was real. When the flame civets saw their companion be killed by Bailey Hongzhuang, they all started howling and charged together towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent as she waved her sword. Rays of light flashed and all the attacking flame civets were beheaded. Pung! 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 One by one, the three flame civets' corpses dropped to the floor. From start to finish, Bailey Hongzhuang was always calm. She killed the mysterious Earth Intermediate staged flame civet, as if she was only killing an ordinary cat. Waving her sword again, Bailey Hongzhuang skillfully removed the flame civet's demonic crystals. These things had many uses. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian looked at each other before slowly walking over to Bailey Hongzhuang. Many thanks to Chen Wangfei for disposing of the beasts and coming to our aid. Xiao Zifan cupped his fists in gratitude. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the two indifferently. She had no impression of the two in front of her. Actually, the only people she knew in the hunting competition were Bailey Yuyan and Xinyuan Huan. Don't thank me, thank yourself. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly turned around, unhurriedly walking back to rest. Originally she had no intentions of helping them, and only decided to when she heard Xiao Zifan shout at her to be careful. At least Xiao Zifan was kind-hearted. She was willing to spend a little energy to help him. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, Xiao Zifan unconsciously felt a little strange. He shouted as he watched her leave, "No matter what, thank you for saving us. Don't light any fires at night." Bailey Hongzhuang's figure faded away into the forest, a cool breeze carrying the warm words. Xiao Zifan smiled a little. Before he didn't know Bailey Hongzhuang at all, but after meeting her, he thought that she was actually a very good person. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was actually so strong, Zhao Yunqian said in a daze. Only using one hit to kill a flame civet, how could she be so powerful? Xiao Zifan shook his head. He only knew Bailey Hongzhuang's strength far surpassed theirs but had no idea how far. It seems like everyone's judgment was wrong. Chen Wangfei simply isn't trash at all. Zhao Yunqian sighed with relief. We finally escaped the frightening experience without pain. Safe and sound. We are indebted to Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Zifan smiled, turning around to extinguish the fire. He took Bailey Hongzhuang's final departing words to heart. The night quietly passed. As the sun rose, Bailey Hongzhuang stopped cultivating and freshened herself up before once more continuing her journey. Bailey Hongzhuang began to take the initiative to attack. Anytime she heard a demonic beast's movements, she would go to check it out. She needed to find the storm wolf's location for the competition. Throughout the course of half a day, although Bailey Hongzhuang didn't find the storm wolf, she did collect many beast crystals. "Master, we still haven't found the storm wolf." Little White's face was helpless. Although the range of their spirit force was very wide, something in the hunting field was hindering it, making the range of their searching very limited. After probing around with their spirit force, they were still unable to find even a trace of the storm wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips into a small smile. Luoxia Mountain isn't small at all. We've already explored half of it, so the storm wolf should be somewhere up ahead. We'll run into it sooner or later. From the cultivators competing this year, only Xinyuan Huan or Bailey Yuyan would be able to kill it. If someone did kill it, once the news is spread, even if they could escape the first time, they wouldn't be able to escape again. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to move ahead when suddenly, a figure appeared in front of her. When Yi Yitong saw Bailey Hongzhuang come, her pretty face couldn't help but turn a little disappointed. Although there were many demonic beasts in Luoxia Mountain, killing them one by one was very troublesome. It was much better to rob other cultivators, saving time and effort. Seeing a woman come alone without another person gave Yi Yitong this idea. After all, with her mysterious earth late-staged cultivation, there was almost no chance of failure. But she didn't expect for this woman to actually be Bailey Hongzhuang. The excitement in her heart completely disappeared. Such trash even surviving in these mountains until now was already a miracle. How could she have killed any demonic beasts? Hand over all your beast crystals and money, and I will release your horse, Yi Yitong said lazily. Although she didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang, as the Chen Wangfei, she should be very rich. Robbing some money was also very good. Seeing Yi Yitong look at her with contempt, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a bewitching smile as she asked, Why? Why? Yi Yitong couldn't help but laugh. Because in front of my strength you're just trash. Who do you think you are? Bailey Hongzhuang's smile slowly turned cold. You dare to talk big in front of me? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang act like this, Yi Yitong sneered. It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang still didn't fully understand the situation. Do you think you would be safe just because of your title of Wang Fei? This is the hunting field, even if I kill you nobody would ever know. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile turned even more enchanting and seductive. I want to see if you have the ability. Yi Yitong was speechless. Bailey Hongzhuang, that trash, was mocking her? She dares. Not knowing fear until facing death. Yi Yitong's words contained killing intent. I already gave you a chance. Since you can't differentiate between good and bad, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 138. Suddenly, another voice appeared. Yi Yitong, since I was the one who caught her, let's split the loot. Yi Yitong was startled, turning to find a boy in black robes standing behind her. A trace of light flickered past her eyes. Tian Weiming. Tian Weiming didn't pay much attention to Yi Yitong, and instead turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. The corners of his mouth rose into an evil smile. I didn't expect you'd dare to start a fight with Chen Wangfei. Yi Yitong ignored Tian Weiming's ridicule. I promise you will get a slice of the pie. Tian Weiming's smile deepened. You sure talk fast. Let's split it half and half. No problem. Yi Yitong agreed straightforward. Bailey Hongzhuang crossed her arms in front of her chest, sneering as she watched. I'll give you guys a chance. If you get out of my sight right now, I'll forgive you. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, her beautiful face full of killing intent. The two were already talking about how to divide the loot, not putting her in their eyes at all. Trying to rob her, it could only be said that they had some terrible luck. Since they were acting so arrogant, she didn't mind letting them see the knowledge and experience that came with true arrogance. Hearing her words, Tian Weiming and Yi Yitong were momentarily startled before bursting into loud laughter. What did I just hear? Trash dared to threaten us? Tian Weiming laughed incredulously. This was the biggest joke he had ever heard. Just kill her to avoid any more trouble. Yi Yitong said coldly. Right now there was always a chance for someone to come. Rather than wasting time, it'd be much better to just directly kill her. Tian Weiming nodded in agreement. Will you do it or should I? I'll go. Yi Yitong raised her eyebrow, smiling. Master, these two fellows are just too hateful. Little Black already couldn't watch, wishing that he could just go and deal with Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming right then and there. Bailey Hongzhuang was still smiling, but her eyes were cold like a glacier. Since you guys didn't treasure that chance, I can only let you two enter heaven. The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her hand and waggled her finger. Come. Arrogant. Yi Yitong's face turned ugly. A waste dared to tell her to come, what a joke. Her mind stirred, chi immediately surging through her body. Her strength was undoubtedly mysterious earth late-stage cultivation. Accept death. Yi Yitong's figure suddenly moved, waving her long sword. She directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's vital organs, with the intent to kill her. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. This Yi Yitong was truly very impulsive. Before, there was never a conflict between her and Yi Yitong, and now she wanted to kill her. Yi Yitong's heart was truly vicious. In the split second as Yi Yitong charged, Bailey Hongzhuang also disappeared. Shadowless kill. Only a silver light could be seen, piercing into the vast sky. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappeared, no longer standing where she was before. Shadowless kill can kill people without a trace, and its speed couldn't be judged. When she just began to train in her past life, this was the skill she relied on most to kill people. Although now she was in a different body, she was still skilled as before. Tian Weiming watched lazily. He didn't care about Bailey Hongzhuang. He only thought of it as reaping benefits in passing. This kind of trash he had no interest at all. Beast crystals demonic cores, but in the next moment, Tian Weiming could no longer smile. His eyes filled with fright. He couldn't even hear the two weapons meet. He could only see Bailey Hongzhuang's figure disappear, and then reappear behind Yi Yitong like a ghost. Thump! A heavy body fell to the ground with a loud thump. Yi Yitong's two big eyes stared at the ground. The ridicule and happiness in her eyes were replaced by dense fear. Warm liquid gushed out of her throat, impossible to stop. One move. Only one move, and she no longer had the strength to fight back. Yi Yitong's heart was filled with unwillingness. She didn't want to believe that she would die today at Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. She only thought it'd be a one-sided slaughter. How come she ended up losing her life? Nobody gave her an answer. Even Bailey Hongzhuang didn't spare her so much as a glance after she hit her. Yi Yilong was certain that she had already killed her. Looking at the unmoving Yi Yitong, Tian Weiming was completely stunned. What happened? The smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips grew more and more enchanting. Her red lips gently opened, her voice full of charm. You said you wanted to kill me? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang speak those words in such a soft voice, Tian Weiming could only feel his back turn cold, the fear enveloping him. He and Yi Yitong were both at late-staged mysterious earth. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was capable of killing Yi Yitong in one stroke, killing him was just as easy. Chan Wangfei, I had eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. You must spare me this time. Tian Weiming's face was pale as he begged for mercy. Earlier you threatened to kill me. Did you really think that I would let you off? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. If someone offends me, Bailey Hongzhuang, they will not have a good end. Her voice was hard. Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp sword moved again. Before Tian Weiming could escape, he had already died. The two were dealt with in a flash. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly took the two's heaven and earth pouches before continuing her journey. If others didn't offend her, she wouldn't offend others. She never liked taking the initiative to invite trouble upon herself, but if others looked for trouble with her, she wouldn't be soft. Little Black and Little White each took a heaven-earth pouch and looked inside. There were many demonic cores. It looks like it wasn't the first time they did something like that. Today's harvest is far better than killing demonic beasts individually. Bailey Hongzhuang kept all the demonic cores together. With Yi Yitong's temper, she's afraid that the number of cultivators that died by her hands weren't small. Chapter 140. Through her exchanges with other cultivators, she knew that nobody had encountered the storm wolf yet. Out of 3 days, 2 of them have already passed. There was only 1 day left. Everyone had already started to look for the storm wolf. Once again finding a quiet region to rest, Bailey Hongzhuang entered a state of cultivation. During the day, she had killed many demonic beasts, consuming much of her qi. She needed to cultivate and raise her power to stay at optimal strength. As Bailey Hongzhuang quietly cultivated, everybody was talking about Yi Yitong's and Tian Weiming's deaths. I saw Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming's corpses. They were killed cleanly with a cut to the throat. It must be a cultivator who did this. Hearing what the cultivator said, everyone was startled. Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were very strong amongst the cultivators competing in the hunting competition. If they could directly kill 2 late-staged mysterious earth cultivators with only a stroke to the throat, just how strong were they? Yi Yitong always acted arrogantly, never putting anyone into her eyes. It's not surprising for her to be killed because she offended somebody. Maybe the other party isn't alone. We need to be careful, otherwise it'd be too late to regret it. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian couldn't help but look at each other as they listened. Their minds instantly thought of Bailey Hongzhuang. Using one stroke of the sword to cut the throat, that was just like how Bailey Hongzhuang killed the flame civets. There was no one else on the whole mountain that had the capabilities to do it. But the two didn't say anything. Regardless of who killed those 2, it had nothing to do with them. And Bailey Hongzhuang was still the benefactor that saved their lives. When Bailey Yuyan heard this, she was also stunned. She and Yi Yitong had kept in touch, and clearly knew the latter's strength. If she was right, besides her and Xinyuan Huan, Yi Yitong and Tian Weiming were definitely the strongest here. But now the two were dead. Could that mean there were even stronger powers in the hunting field? Or were they killed under Xinyuan Huan's hand? Although Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating peacefully, her spirit was actually very aware of her surroundings. The night seemed to be especially unpeaceful. The demonic beast's roars were far more than the last night, as if something had attracted its attention. According to her experience, something must have happened. At this moment, Little Black suddenly spoke up, its voice containing a trace of worry. Master, a group of beasts are surrounding us in all directions. Its target is us. Bailey Hongzhuang, her eyes. A cold, dark blue light flickered inside her dark pupils. The air was filled with the stench of blood. Hell wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. She didn't expect for there to actually be hell wolves inside Luoxia Mountain. The strangest thing is that she'd never provoked them, so why would the hell wolves attack her for no reason? Hell wolves lived in packs. They were cruel and merciless by nature, their strength equivalent to mysterious earth late stage. Hell wolves and storm wolves were different. Storm wolves not only lived alone, but its speed was also incomparable to the hell wolves. If you were to ask a cultivator what demonic beast they wanted to avoid the most, all of them would definitely say hell wolves without the least bit of hesitation. A single hell wolf on its own wasn't bad, but their strength as a group was terrifying. Once surrounded by a group of them, the vast majority of cultivators would definitely die. A group of dreadful demonic beasts was something no cultivator wanted to provoke. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly got up, her sharp sword already in her hand. She had a faint premonition. This was a game. Chapter 141. Master, there's too many hell wolves for you to handle. It's better for you to let me or Little Black do it. Little White spoke. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than the hell wolves, she was heavily outnumbered. If all the hell wolves were to attack at once, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be able to persist for long. Little Black nodded his head again and again, beginning to rub his fists. Just watch me beat up these bastards. That won't work. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lowered. You guys can't come out. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White looked at each other. They immediately understood the meaning behind Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Someone's watching us here, so every action we do here will be seen. It's better to not take the risk. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were hard. This I will do myself. Little Black and Little White knew that she was very serious about guaranteeing their safety. Although her strength still currently wasn't enough to protect them, she still didn't let them take any risks. If her calculations were right, then the pack of hell wolves must have been a plan set up a long time ago. Although she didn't know if this was done by another competitor or a third party, she knew for certain that some force was watching her. Therefore, she couldn't take any chances. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident speech, although Little Black and Little White turned silent, their hearts only grew all the more worried. Awoo! The hell wolves began to howl, pairs of dark, indigo eyes locking onto Bailey Hongzhuang's body, flickering with hunger. They already clearly regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as food. Killing her too fast wouldn't allay their hunger. At such a dangerous moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was actually very calm. Hell wolves weren't her opponent. She just needed to save her strength and avoid making mistakes. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with a vicious, cold light as her stare locked onto the hell wolves. A dense killing intent filled the air. 1-0. The hell wolves' king howled loudly. All the hell wolves seemed to have just gotten an order, at once charging at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's right leg suddenly stepped forward, mysterious and early-staged power erupting from her body. A hell wolf took the initiative to lunge at Bailey Hongzhuang. Its jaw was open wide, exposing its sharp teeth. If Bailey Hongzhuang fell down, it would definitely bite her neck. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure moved. She quickly dodged its lunge and at the same time poured chi into her sword, directly stabbing towards the hell wolf's most vulnerable place, the stomach. A head of copper, bones like iron, and tofu for its waist. That was how people described wolves. Under a group attack, she needed to save every drop of energy and kill a hell wolf with every strike. Only like this would the situation be turned around. TCH. The sound of sword piercing through flesh echoed. Bailey Hongzhuang lifted her left foot, directly kicking the hell wolf's corpse at another hell wolf. Slam! Thump! Bang! The hell wolves advanced dauntlessly in waves after waves, continuing to throw themselves at her. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure was like the wind. Her expression was calm and steady. From beginning to end, she never exposed the slightest trace of panic. As the family head of a famous clan, there was no counting how many bad situations she'd been in. It was only natural that she didn't feel any fear. An enchanting scarlet flower bloomed on her white robes. The hell wolf's claw streaked across, leaving behind a bloody scar. But Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to feel no pain, the wound not affecting her movements at all. Every move was fast and accurate. The hell wolves fell down one after another. After seeing so many of their comrades being killed by Bailey Hongzhuang, the other hell wolves no longer dared to step forward. This was instinctual fear. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo couldn't say a word as they watched. Bailey Hongzhuang's performance had shocked them too much. They had also gone through this test, but their results couldn't even begin to be compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's. From those firm and far-sighted eyes, they could finally see a ripe spirit. This girl is very calm. Lu Huayan's face was filled with emotions. It was impossible for them to do this at Bailey Hongzhuang's age. They had even made preparations in case something happened. But now it didn't seem like they need to do anything. Her mental strength is almost terrifying. Fu Hongbo's eyes shined brightly. He never thought that the one they didn't care for the most, Bailey Hongzhuang, would actually be the biggest harvest of this trip. No matter what, make sure to place her into the quota. Lu Huayan was sure that her future was limitless. This little Fengbo country would not be her stage. Fu Hongbo nodded in agreement, a bright, satisfied smile on his face. While the two people were talking, Bailey Hongzhuang looked suspiciously in their direction as she cut down more hell wolves. Her eyes, deep like ancient wells, flashed with cold light. Lu Huayan was startled, a trace of shock appearing in his eyes. This girl shouldn't be able to see us, right? With their cultivation, as long as they wanted to hide, nobody could find them. But Bailey Hongzhuang had clearly just looked at them. Impossible. It was probably just a coincidence. Fu Hongbo said slowly. Even so, his eyes couldn't help but flash with a trace of doubt. He had also felt Bailey Hongzhuang's stare as if somebody really had seen them. But Bailey Hongzhuang was only an early-staged mysterious Ian cultivator. It was impossible for her spirit force to find them. The two stopped suspecting her. If Bailey Hongzhuang really was able to see, then that'd just be too frightening. While Bailey Hongzhuang was dealing with the hell wolves, many of the cultivators who heard the howls curiously came to watch. The prize for first place was just too tempting. The wolf howls became the focus of everyone's attention. The storm wolf might have appeared. But when everyone arrived and saw the pack of hell wolves, their faces all turned pale, at once preparing to run away. If a hell wolf found them, once they were surrounded, they'd truly be dying without even an intact corpse. But just as everyone started to leave, somebody suddenly shouted, "Somebody's inside the hell wolves." Hearing the shout, everybody's footsteps couldn't help but stop. They grew a little curious. Who was the unlucky egg that got surrounded by a pack of hell wolves? Quickly look. The one inside is Bailey Hongzhuang. Everybody became completely astonished, one after another jumping up trees to look at the situation in the pack of wolves. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqian also came. Hearing that it was Bailey Hongzhuang, the two looked at each other with alarm. This time Bailey Hongzhuang's seriously screwed. Now she's destined to become the hell wolves' food. Everybody sighed with sorrow. Bailey Hongzhuang was too arrogant, and now she can only fall in the royal family's hunting competition. But when everybody climbed on the trees to see the hell wolves surround her, their eyes couldn't help but turn huge. They just couldn't believe the scene in front of them. Chapter 143. Bailey Hongzhuang's movements were like thunder, each strike with unparalleled speed. The hell wolves fell one after another, powerless. Her jade-like face was stained with blood. The dark red blood contrasted against her pure white skin, giving her an indescribable allure. How is this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang's trash, right? How could she kill so many hell wolves? You're trash. At the very minimum, Bailey Hongzhuang should at least be mysterious in early stage. Everybody gulped. None of them ever thought Bailey Hongzhuang was actually so powerful. If they were surrounded by so many hell wolves, they'd be long dead. What was especially scary was how Bailey Hongzhuang's face was calm and indifferent the entire time. The people who had originally called Bailey Hongzhuang trash felt their cheeks turn hot. If Bailey Hongzhuang was trash, what were they? Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi looked at each other. Sure enough, what they thought was correct. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was truly incredible. I wonder how many people would be shocked by this. Xiao Zifan sighed with emotion. Yunqi, I want to help. Earlier, Bailey Hongzhuang had helped them in their time of need. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was in danger, he couldn't just watch without raising a finger. After being attacked by the flame civets last night, he had finally broken through to mysterious Earth late stage. Even though he knew his help wouldn't do much, he still wanted to go assist her. Only then can his conscience be clear. Hearing Xiao Zifan's words, Zhao Yunqi's eyes widened. Xiao Zifan, are you joking? Even if you broke through to late stage, going out to face that pack of hellwolves is the same as courting death. But Xiao Zifan's attitude remained firm. I already decided. Whatever the result is, I'll bear it myself. Finished speaking, Xiao Zifan no longer stayed, immediately heading towards Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Zhao Yunqi quickly pulled Xiao Zifan's sleeve. Are you crazy? Xiao Zifan pursed his lips into a thin smile. When am I ever crazy? Moving his sleeve away, Xiao Zifan firmly walked towards the hellwolves. Zhao Yunqi stared blankly at his back. Watching Xiao Zifan's figure slowly fade away, she muttered, lunatic. As hellwolves were killed one after another, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly grew tired. She already tried her best to waste as little energy as possible, but each hellwolf had enormous strength. Every time she killed one, an enormous amount of energy had to be used. This isn't a good method. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. Her eyes flashed as she thought. Suddenly, a figure slowly made its way in front of her. Seeing its appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with astonishment. Xiao Zifan. His clear, handsome face revealed a gentle smile as he plunged into the battle with no hesitation. His voice was soft as he spoke. I came to help you. Waves appeared in her calm black pupils. She never expected that Xiao Zifan would suddenly come to her aid. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little touched. It wasn't her intention to help Xiao Zifan last night, but now he's here risking his life for her. Just by this fact alone, Xiao Zifan became her friend. Be careful. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice dropped slightly. Although she knew Xiao Zifan had broken through to late stage, it was still dangerous for him to face the hell wolves. Chapter 144. When the crowd saw Xiao Zifan actually go to help Bailey Hongzhuang, their faces grew even more surprised. Is this Xiao Zifan stupid? Actually taking the initiative to throw away his life. Who would have imagined this guy was always just pretending to be dignified during the day, feigning righteousness? He deserved to die. Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Zifan stood back to back together. With Xiao Zifan's assistance, Bailey Hongzhuang had a lot less pressure. But Xiao Zifan and the Hellwolf's strengths were very similar. Only a short time had passed and he was already covered in wounds. Bailey Hongzhuang's bright phoenix eyes narrowed as she stared at the Hellwolf's king standing not so far away. Continuing this kind of fight was very disadvantageous for her and Xiao Zifan. Only by killing the Hellwolf's king she would have them retreat. When I count to 3, run through this encirclement of Hellwolves. Your safety is the highest priority. Bailey Hongzhuang lowered her voice. Xiao Zifan was startled. Then what about you? I have a way to attract the Hellwolf's king's attention. Hearing her words, Xiao Zifan glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang deeply before immediately nodding his head. You must be careful. Don't worry, my life isn't so small. I won't die this easily. Her red lips hooked up into a small smile, blooming on Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face enchantingly under the moonlight. 1, 2, 3. The instant Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Xiao Zifan swiftly ran far away. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang ran in the opposite direction, moving to attack the Wolf's King. It was originally going to kill Xiao Zifan, but after seeing him run away and Bailey Hongzhuang charge at him, the Hell Wolf King changed its target to her. The pair of deep blue eyes grew faintly red. So many of its companions had died under Bailey Honghuang's hand, causing the Hell Wolves King to hate her to the extreme. Bailey Hongzhuang's shadow flickered, using her full strength to dodge the attacks. The crowd of Hell Wolves was very dense. Inside, she could only wave her sword once again, sweeping away the obstacles. But the Hell Wolf King seemed to know that he was Bailey Hongzhuang's target. He lifted his head and howled loudly. Bailey Hongzhuang's exquisite face was icy, the depths of her eyes cold, shining with ruthless murderous intent. Master, this Hell Wolf King has also reached Mysterious Ian early stage. Your strengths are the same. Little White reminded her. Bailey Honghuang slowly nodded her head, but her eyes didn't change, immediately brandishing her sword at the Hell Wolves King. At the same time, the Hell Wolf King pounced on Bailey Hongzhuang. Its actions were cold and ruthless, its fangs wanting to directly tear Bailey Hongzhuang in half. Ding! Bailey Hongzhuang's sword clashed against the Hell Wolf King's fangs. A crisp sound rang out. The Hell Wolf King was completely unharmed, but the sword in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands had a large hole. Without waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to recover, the Hell Wolf once again attacked. Watching the scene, many of the young cultivators wanted to turn their eyes away. They couldn't bear to see such a cruel scene. Without a weapon, Bailey Hongzhuang was not the Hell Wolf King's opponent. You could only blame Bailey Hongzhuang for being too arrogant to even be crazy enough to attack the Hell Wolves King. Xiao Zifen had quickly left the Hell Wolves' encirclement. When he found that no Hell Wolves were chasing him, he couldn't help but sigh with relief, but his heart still worried for Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 145. Zhao Yunqi walked up to Xiao Zifen, her beautiful face filled with blame. Did you need to do that? Look at yourself, you're covered in cuts and bruises. She thought that Xiao Zifen was truly stupid. Yesterday Bailey Hongzhuang didn't really want to help them, but he still insisted on paying Bailey Hongzhuang back for her kindness. Xiao Zifen ignored Zhao Yunqi's words, immediately turning to look in Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Inwardly, he prayed for her to also be safe. The Hell Wolf King threw itself at Bailey Hongzhuang. Everybody watched as the figures of a human and beast intertwined together, the heavy smell of blood permeating through the air. Bailey Hongzhuang died. Let's go. One man slowly spoke. This battle today had truly opened their eyes and expanded their horizons. Hearing so, everybody jumped one after another down the trees. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had exceeded their expectations, the result was just as they thought. Xiao Zifen's face instantly turned pale. He really didn't want to see Bailey Honghuang die like this. Don't look. You also knew it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to defeat the Hell Wolf's King. Zhao Yunqi rolled her eyes. She really didn't understand why Xiao Zifen was so fixated on this. The Hell Wolf's King's strength didn't even lose by much to the Storm Wolves. No matter who it was, they could only die. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang was surrounded, she was already destined to fall. But when Zhao Yunqi glanced at the Hell Wolf's King, she suddenly saw a bloody figure getting up from the Wolf King's corpse. Zhao Yunqi pointed her finger, but her throat seemed to be stuck. The words just couldn't come out. Seeing Zhao Yunqi's appearance that looked as if she had seen a ghost, Xiao Zifen pursed his eyebrows thoughtfully. His eyes following the direction of Zhao Yunqi's finger. His ashen face quickly turned pleasantly surprised. Bailey Hongzhuang, you didn't die? His bright, excited voice rang out in the quiet mountains. The leaving cultivators' footsteps slowed as they turned around. What did they just hear? Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't dead? After the group of Hell Wolves saw their king die, there was no longer any thoughts of fighting left in their hearts, quickly running away into the thick forest. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the figure dyed in red, chaotic waves appearing in their hearts. What? Bailey Honghuang defeated the Hell Wolf's King? I must be dreaming. The result was completely different from what everybody imagined. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was Mysterious Ian early-stage cultivation, it still should have been impossible for her to kill the Hell Wolf's King. Could her cultivation actually be at the intermediate stage? Hearing the guess, almost all the cultivators wanted to instinctively refuse. But when they recalled Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, the words couldn't help but be stuck in their throats. The thin, bloody figure was especially eye-catching in the dark night. After such a big battle, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was graceful and indifferent as usual. Only her aura was a bit denser. Her back was straight, walking step by step. It seemed almost as if she had stepped on the apex, leaving only a bright red figure imprinted in everyone's minds. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze slowly swept through the crowd before looking at her surroundings. In that instant, all the cultivators' eyes changed. Those sharp, icy eyes and cold gaze. None of them had the courage to face it. This was her aura. In that moment, everybody truly understood a single fact. Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't trash, but actually an unsurpassed talent. Bailey Hongzhuang finally arrived in front of Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi. Before Xiao Zifan could speak, Bailey Hongzhuang had already forced a small pill into his mouth. "What did you make him eat?" Zhao Yunqi asked, startled. "Zhao Yunqi, Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't do anything to hurt me." Xiao Zifan's face didn't have even a trace of nervousness. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill him, he would have already died 1,000 times. The pill she fed him should be to heal him. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhao Yunqi indifferently before turning back to Xiao Zifan. "You're a lot smarter than her." Hearing her words, although Zhao Yunqi couldn't help but feel a little resentful, she wasn't able to find a good retort. Bailey Hongzhuang handed Xiao Zifan a white porcelain bottle. "These are Jinchuang pills. Its quality is very good." "Thanks." Xiao Yifan accepted the Jinchuang pills, smiling. "No need." Her clear, beautiful face beyond compare rippled with a faint smile. "You came to help me even under such dangerous circumstances. You are my friend." She didn't care about why he did that, or if Xiao Zifan was only trying to pay her back from yesterday. He had disregarded his own safety just to lessen her pressure. Not many people could do that. "I'm very honored." Xiao Zifan's smile was like the sun. He truly wanted to become Bailey Hongzhuang's friend. After this short time in contact with her, he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang definitely wasn't as unapproachable as they saw on the surface, and actually, her thinking was very simple. "I'll leave first. If you ever need help with something, feel free to look for me." Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Zhao Yunqi's face full of displeasure and her lips curled into a thin arc. She didn't want to deal with a third unwanted guest. Xiao Zifan also understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant. Without any objection, he said, "There are many demonic beasts in the hunting field. Please be careful." "Don't worry." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled openly before turning away to leave. When everybody saw Bailey Hongzhuang leave, the originally taut atmosphere relaxed, everybody sighing with relief. Bailey Yuan's really out of luck. Before she kept on calling Bailey Hongzhuang trash. I think now she was truly foolish. I heard Bailey Yuan also broke through. Now her strength is incomparable to before. Even if she broke through, do you really think she's Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent? The crowd fell silent. Everybody saw Bailey Hongzhuang facing against that group of hell wolves. They've all seen her strength with their own eyes. From the bottom of their hearts, they were certain Bailey Yuan was not Bailey Hongzhuang's opponent. After leaving the battle place, Bailey Hongzhuang continued to walk forward. Earlier when she was fighting the Hell Wolves King, its blood had sprayed all over her body. Smelling the stench on her body, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. "Are there any rivers nearby?" "There's a river not so far away in the easy." Little Black piped up. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head, turning to walk east. Reaching the river, she washed off all the blood reeking on her body before changing into fresh, clean robes. Finally, she stopped and sat down on a tree to rest. "Master, the way the Hell Wolves just suddenly appeared earlier was very suspicious. I think somebody must have deliberately lured them here." Little White's voice was heavy. Bailey Hongzhuang understood the demonic beast's temperament. If someone didn't provoke the Hell Wolves, they wouldn't have attacked. Chapter 147. Her eyes that were black like ink flickered with coldness. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy and calm. Somebody was definitely behind this. It was nearly impossible that she made a low-level mistake like provoking a group of Hell Wolves, so a third party was the only possible explanation. Little Black frowned. "But nobody competing in the hunting competition has the ability to do such a thing. The strongest competing cultivator's cultivation was only at mysterious Ian intermediate stage. Wanting to use the Hell Wolves King for themselves was nearly impossible for them. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a dark smile. There's no way a competing cultivator did this. It must be someone else. You mean, Little Black's fluff raised. Its heart also harbored the same suspicions. Right? One man and two beasts fell into silence, their hearts already certain. The next day, the sky bright, Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes. After a night's rest, her condition was restored by more than half. It's finally the last day. Today we'll look for the storm wolf. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes, speaking slowly. Little Black and Little White smiled confidently. Now that Master came out, first place would definitely belong to Master. After searching for 2 days without even finding a trace of the storm wolf, Bailey Hongzhuang had roughly narrowed down its location. Now she didn't hesitate to set out. Only a white figure could be seen, flying from tree to tree. She was calm and graceful, as if she was traveling on flat ground. The thistles and thorns didn't seem to affect her at all. The hunting field's air became tense. Today was the last day. All of their results will be announced. In other words, today was everybody's last chance. But while the cultivators were desperately searching for the storm wolf in the hunting grounds, the mood outside was filled with shock. Xianyuan Yutian and the chancellors listened to the Imperial Guard reporting the news in the hunting grounds, astonishment on all their faces. Last night, Chen Wangfei was surrounded by a flock of hell wolves? Xianyuan Yutian asked. The Imperial Guard immediately nodded his head, right? Chen Wangfei was encircled within a group of hell wolves alone. Xianyuan Yutian's heart dropped. For the past 2 days, he had been searching for information on Dibei-chan. Although he didn't get an exact answer yet, he was certain Dibei-chan would go back to fight for himself. For these 3 years, although he didn't treat Dibei-chan badly, he also had been very apprehensive about his so-called talent. In fact, he actually never thought Dibei-chan would ever return to office after living as a hermit on Mount Dongshan figure, to make a comeback. But now what he had thought was impossible had now happened. He knew about Dibei-chan's former identity. Once Dibei-chan took everything back, his status would undergo an earth-shaking change. Bailey Hongzhuang was Dibei-chan's Chen Wangfei. If she got into an accident, one can easily imagine Dibei-chan's reaction. When Bailey Zhentao, Su Wanjing, and Bailey Haoxuan heard the news, their eyes couldn't help but shine with happiness. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang's existence, it could even be said that their general's household had lost the most face it had ever lost before. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was dead, they could only rejoice over her misfortune. That trash that only brought shame to their family never should have been born in this world. As the Imperial Guard looked at everybody's faces change, his own expression also turned a little strange. He still wasn't done speaking. Reporting back to the Emperor, my report still hasn't finished. Xianyuan Yutian frowned. What more? He didn't care about anything else that happened in the hunting fields, his mind full of ways to tell Dibei-chan about Bailey Hongzhuang's death. Chen Wangfei killed the Hellwolves King alone by her own power, scaring the rest of the Hellwolves away. Chapter 148. When everybody heard these words, time seemed to almost freeze. Everybody's eyes widened as they stared at the Imperial Guard, thinking that they must have misheard what he said. You? What did you say? Su Wanjing couldn't help but ask. What a joke. It was a group of hellwolves. How could Bailey Hongzhuang even get out alive? Never mind kill the Hellwolves King. After Su Wanjing asked, everybody's gaze once again landed on the Imperial Guard's body. This news was even more unbelievable than the sky falling down, or the rain turning red. Chen Wangfei killed the Hellwolves King alone by her own power, scaring the rest of the Hellwolves away. The Imperial bodyguard repeated it again and again until everyone was sure that they didn't hear wrongly. But still they just couldn't believe it. Did you see this with your own eyes? Li Changqian questioned. He didn't believe Bailey Hongzhuang had that much power. The guard slowly nodded his head, his face serious as he answered yes. Everybody looked at each other. Even though the guard confirmed it, they still found it too hard to believe. A woman known as Trash actually killed a Hellwolf King? A Hellwolf King's strength was the mysterious Ian intermediate stage. Until the Imperial bodyguard left, everyone was silent. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. Xianyuan Yutian and Jiang Jining glanced at each other. They were just as shocked as everyone else, unable to believe that was the truth. From Bailey Hongzhuang's recent actions, they already knew Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't simple. But now it seems that the general's household, who took a heaven-gifted genius as trash, truly had no eyes. Originally they had thought Bailey Hongzhuang was unsuited to be the crown princess, no whether in etiquette or in strength, but now it appeared that they had truly miscalculated. In the whole country, never before was there such an outstanding woman as Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Jintao fell in deep silence. Although other people didn't believe it, he did. He knew she wasn't weak since that time she stopped his fist, but he never expected her to be strong enough to slay a Hell Wolf King. Now Bailey Yuyan might not even be her match. A hard-to-describe irritation and bewilderment enveloped Bailey Jintao's heart. He couldn't understand Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. Why did she pretend to be trash for all those years? Suddenly, Bailey Jintao's gaze fell upon Su Wanjing's body. Over these past few years, he had never even so much given a glance at Bailey Hongzhuang. Everything he knew about her was from Su Wanjing's mouth. He knew Su Wanjing definitely wouldn't treat Bailey Hongzhuang well. Being bullied every day was unavoidable. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang only feigned ignorance to survive? When that thought surfaced in his mind, Bailey Jintao was even more convinced there hadn't been a flaw in his reasoning. If it wasn't like that, what gifted genius would like to be ridiculed? That stupid woman. A burning rage rose up in Bailey Jintao's mind. If not for her foolishness, how could the current general's household have fallen like this? Sensing Bailey Jintao's furious gaze, Su Wanjing couldn't help it but stare blankly, her mind filled with fear. And because of the current situation, she couldn't even bring herself to ask. Bailey Hongzhuang's face had already turned extremely gloomy. How could that trash he always bullied turn out to be an even greater talent than him? Recalling Bailey Hongzhuang's haughty, disdainful face, he wanted to tear her body to shreds. Chapter 149. After 2 hours of searching, Bailey Hongzhuang finally locked down the Storm Wolf's location. According to usual Storm Wolf behaviors, besides here, there was nowhere else it would live. But when Bailey Hongzhuang neared the den, sounds of a fight suddenly appeared in front of them, causing her to frown. It seemed that somebody had found the Storm Wolf before she did. Since someone took the initiative to attack, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't need to hurry. She slowly walked ahead, happy to watch a good play. A man and a Storm Wolf coiled around each other. The man was somebody Bailey Hongzhuang was rather familiar with. Xianyuan Huan. Amongst the cultivators competing this year, apart from her, only Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan had reached the initial stage of Mysterious Ian. A person courageous enough to challenge the Storm Wolf could only be one of those two. A Storm Wolf's speed was like its name, just like a storm, exceptionally fierce. Even though it was Xianyuan Huan as they fought, he slowly began to be suppressed. Xianyuan Huan continuously tangled with the wolf, his chi exploding as he brandished his sword. Traces of swords appeared and disappeared, moving with incomparable sharpness. His handsome face was serious, his eyes deep and earnest as he continuously tried to defeat the Storm Wolf. Looking at such a Xianyuan Huan, Bailey Hongzhuang's face couldn't help but change a little. Although nothing good could be said about his behavior, his strength wasn't bad. Before she had only seen the unscrupulous side of him, and actually never seen him so serious before. But even so, the disgust in her heart for Xianyuan Huan couldn't be changed. Although Xianyuan Huan's strength isn't bad, he still isn't the Storm Wolf's opponent. Little White focused on the fight in front of them, quickly determining which side was superior. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips hooked, her beautiful face bewitching and seductive. From beginning to end, Xianyuan Huan always lived in lukewarm waters. He can't use all of his strength. This was actually a deficiency most highborn cultivators faced. They possessed enough cultivation resources, and with pretty good talent, they could easily be very strong with some effort. However, they had never experienced a life-and-death fight. Cultivating high was one thing, but actual fighting strength was something else. Only after having experienced a fight between life and death would all their potential be stimulated. Only after narrowly avoiding a visit to the Yellow Springs would they understand their weak points and learn how to fix them. Yellow Springs. Chinese underworld in mythology. Although it wouldn't appear early on in cultivation, as cultivators slowly grow and their insights of the world change, the gap would become very clear. In her previous life, though she grew up as the Lin family head, she was never allowed to be the least bit lazy. The reason why the Lin family had such a high status in the Shangxian continent was that their core was strong enough. All of the Lin family's younger generation were treated equally, leaving them when young in the mountain ranges to learn through experience. Each time there were no small number of casualties, but the cultivators who emerged successfully from the mountains had all undergone earth-shattering changes. And that was just the beginning. From the day she was born, her life was never destined to be easy. But even so, she never felt that the suffering was too much to bear. Because along with the suffering, she reaped a far bigger harvest. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Little Black and Little White nodded. Bailey Hongzhuang's sentence had stated it perfectly. Xinyuan Huan slowly lost his strength. Although he could still fight calmly, it was impossible for him to beat it now. Chapter 150 Clang. A sharp sound rang out in the air. Xinyuan Huan carelessly fell down in front of the storm wolf, his sword flying from his hands. Xinyuan Huan's face was full of panic. How could the storm wolf be so strong? Now that his weapon was gone, how could he face the storm wolf? Ah! Xinyuan Huan released a blood-curdling shriek. The storm wolf had bitten his arm. A crisp ka sound echoed. Xinyuan Huan's bones were snapped. Bailey Hongzhuang's face stayed indifferent. She and Xinyuan Huan never had a good relationship, so of course she wouldn't go out to save him. But Xinyuan Huan's luck was clearly good. Bailey Yin had suddenly appeared. Crown Prince. Seeing Xinyuan Huan's arm bitten by the storm wolf, Bailey Yin couldn't help but cry out in alarm. When Xinyuan Huan saw Bailey Yin appear, his pale face lit up with happiness. Bailey Yin, quickly save me. Bailey Yin repeatedly nodded her head. Don't worry, I will definitely come to save you. Although the situation was very dangerous, Bailey Yin's mood was actually very good. She never thought that today she would get a chance to save the Crown Prince. If she saved him, Bailey Yin was sure he would no longer be as disgusted with her. Bailey Yin quickly pulled out her sword before attacking the storm wolf without the slightest bit of hesitation. When the storm wolf saw Bailey Yin attack, it no longer bothered with Xinyuan Huan, turning to throw itself at her. Bailey Yin's heart was very tense. If even Xinyuan Huan couldn't beat the storm wolf, she was even less of an opponent for it. Seeing the storm wolf's attention turn to Bailey Yin, Xinyuan Huan sighed with relief. Although his arm was crippled, he still had his life. It looks like it'll be an interesting show. Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the treetop, her face indifferent as she watched the storm wolf fight hand-to-hand with Bailey Yin. Little black eyes flickered with excitement. Now that the storm wolf is attacking Bailey Yin, Master can save some effort. A woman like Bailey Yin shouldn't deserve to live in the world. If it wasn't for Xinyuan Huan interfering earlier, Master would have already killed Bailey Yin. If the storm wolf killed Bailey Yin, they wouldn't need to personally dirty their hands. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, her eyes bright as if she was enjoying a good play. Since Bailey Yin likes to play beauty saving the hero so much, naturally we'll let her show off. As Bailey Hongzhuang was speaking, Bailey Yin was forced to shrink back step by step. Although her strength was pretty good in the beginning, her chi was quickly used up as she faced the storm wolf. She had already lost control of her body. Screams constantly rang out in the air. In just that brief span of time, Bailey Yin's body was already riddled with scars and wounds, drenched in blood. Xinyuan Huan immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. He never thought that the wolf would actually be so strong, and although he wanted to help Bailey Yin, his wounds were too heavy. He was already incapable of fighting. Crown Prince. Bailey Yin couldn't help but call out. There was no chance for her to deal with the storm wolf alone. Suddenly, while Bailey Yin was trying to escape from the storm wolf, she accidentally saw Bailey Hongzhuang sitting up on a tree not so far away. Her pitch-black pupils were filled with anger. While they were being beaten black and blue by the storm wolf, Bailey Hongzhuang was actually watching them calmly like a joke. They weren't that convenient. Chapter 151 Bailey Yin's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang only managed to escape by a fluke. Since Bailey Hongzhuang went and sought death, Her troubles could very well be shifted onto her. Bailey Yuyan wasn't nice enough to act out a show for her to watch. For this reason, she wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to pay with her life. Master, Bailey Yuyan found you. Little Black voiced. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled indifferently. Oh well, we can just use this as an opportunity to dispose of her. The reason why she dared to watch the show so arrogantly on the treetops was because she simply didn't care if Bailey Yuyan or Xinyuan Huan discovered her or not. Bailey Yuyan was completely silent. As she fought with the storm wolf, she slowly moved to the tree Bailey Hongzhuang was sitting on. Very quickly, Bailey Yuyan reached the spot under Bailey Hongzhuang's tree. But by then, her hibiscus embroidered robe was already dyed with blood. However, there was also a glint of excitement flickering in Bailey Yuyan's eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang, aren't you quite crazy? If you have the ability, then come down from the tree. Xinyuan Huan had just noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang was atop the tree, but he didn't know from when she had been up there. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, I am quite crazy, but still, why should I come down? Bailey Yuyan's eyes were filled with ridicule. All you know is to talk big when in fact, you're just trash with nothing good about you. When she heard the word trash, a trace of ruthlessness appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Bailey Yuyan, this level of provocation is just too basic. Her beautiful, cold voice was filled with contempt, as if she disdained Bailey Yuyan from the bottom of her heart. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang actually see through her thoughts, Bailey Yuyan's face turned somewhat ugly. But after a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang actually directly jumped down from the tree, her eyes looking straight at Bailey Yuyan. Haha, trash. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed madly, an arrogant expression appearing on her beautiful face. You keep on saying I'm trash, but you can't even defeat a storm wolf alone. You're the trash. Bailey Yuyan was startled. Meeting Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, a chill couldn't help but arise from the depths of her heart. Her pupils, black as ink, seemed to be able to pierce through her heart. That noble air that seemed to stem from her bones couldn't help but make Bailey Yuyan feel inferior. In that moment, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have the aura of an emperor, a tyrannical aura erupting around her. A mere glance in her mind could no longer build up the slightest shred of resistance. Why was this happening? Bailey Yuyan screamed in her mind. Why was she so scared after a single glance from Bailey Hongzhuang? Under such an aura, she felt an indescribable pressure. You said I was trash? Bailey Yuyan forced herself to argue back. Then if you have the ability, why don't you kill the wolf? A charming smile formed in Bailey Hongzhuang's lips. I will show you what true strength is. Bailey Yuyan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang shocked. This trash actually dared to fight the storm wolf? Xinyuan Huan was also astonished. Since Bailey Hongzhuang saw Bailey Yuyan fight the storm wolf, she definitely should have known how strong it was. How could she still dare to fight it? While the two were stunned, Bailey Hongzhuang had already walked up to face the storm wolf. The storm wolf's and the hell wolf king's strengths were roughly the same, but the storm wolf was faster whereas the hell wolf was stronger. Bailey Hongzhuang took out a sharp sword from her heaven-earth pouch. Fortunately, she had bought it before the hunting competition started in case of an emergency. Now it was finally time to use it. Chapter 152. The qi in Bailey Hongzhuang's body stirred. Mysterious Ian initial stage power erupting into the air. Mysterious Ian initial stage. Bailey Yuyan was terrified as she watched, stormy waves appearing in her heart, an indescribable shock engulfing her. How could Bailey Hongzhuang reach Mysterious Ian initial stage? Before, she and Bailey Hongzhuang lived together. She was very familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength. How could trash reach Mysterious Ian initial stage and become such a gifted genius in such a short time? You must know, although her cultivation was also at the initial stage of Mysterious Ian, she was 1 year older than Bailey Hongzhuang. Although a 1-year gap looked like nothing to ordinary people, she knew the disparity in talent. With a 1-year difference in the future, the gap could grow even bigger. She just couldn't imagine the trash that she always humiliated under the sole of her feet would actually turn out to be even more gifted than her. Xinyuan Huan had a self-deprecating smile on his face. Before he had used every possible way to mock Bailey Hongzhuang when in fact, in her eyes he was the real fool. Mysterious Ian initial stage cultivation at 15 years old was fully deserving of being called a genius. Ding ding ding. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm as she faced the vicious storm wolf without the slightest trace of fear. Her long double-edged suddenly stabbed forward. Each strike left behind a cut on the storm wolf's body. Bailey Yuyan watched, her heart filled with endless jealousy. Her body was covered in wounds without even one hit landing on the storm wolf. But Bailey Hongzhuang only used one strike to cut the wolf. Was there really such a big difference between the two of them? Oh woo! The storm wolf couldn't help but howl loudly as Bailey Hongzhuang striked again and again. It could sense that this person was far stronger than the other two. The storm wolf's figure was like lightning, quickly disappearing before Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. That was the most troublesome part about a storm wolf. Its speed was too fast for the eye to see. By the time the cultivator finally adjusted, the storm wolf would have already striked. Bailey Yuyan sneered in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was just talking big. She wanted to see what Bailey Hongzhuang would do now. But only a moment passed before Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan were astonished to find that Bailey Hongzhuang's figure had already disappeared from sight. Bailey Hongzhuang shadow shifted. Shadow shifting was the Lin family's most outstanding movement skill. Its effects naturally needn't be said. Ding! A sound rang out in the air. Hearing it, Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan knew that was where Bailey Hongzhuang and the storm wolf were fighting. Bailey Hongzhuang and the storm wolf's speeds were actually comparable to each other. Bailey Yuyan and Xianyuan Huan could finally see Bailey Hongzhuang's true speed. The storm wolf's speed didn't win against Bailey Hongzhuang's at all. In fact, the storm wolf was even faintly suppressed by her. Bailey Yuyan's face slowly changed as she watched. Bailey Hongzhuang's growth was just too fast. She couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang continue anymore, or else it'd be impossible for her to kill Bailey Hongzhuang later. If she took advantage of the time while Bailey Hongzhuang was dealing with the storm wolf to mount a sneak attack, Bailey Hongzhuang definitely wouldn't be her opponent. Bailey Haoxuan's hatred and Su Wanjing's expectations floated into her mind. Bailey Yuyan's face turned merciless. She no longer hesitated, picking up her weapon to attack Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 153 What a despicable woman! Little Black cursed. This was the first time he had ever seen someone be so shameless. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was cold, her eyes turning icy. That's just Bailey Yuyan's style. Since she wants to die, there's no reason for us to stop her. Her pitch-black pupils glowed with cold killing intent. Today is the day she personally kills Bailey Yuyan. Ding ding ding. The two weapons clashed. A sinister smile sat on Bailey Yuyan's face. Bailey Hongzhuang, so what if you're a genius? I definitely won't let you leave the hunting grounds alive. Such trash, you don't have the skill. Bailey Hongzhuang ridiculed. Hearing the contempt in Bailey Hongzhuang's voice, Bailey Yuyan's face turned ugly, impudent. Let's see how much longer you can act so arrogant. When Xianyuan Huan saw Bailey Yuyan actually mount a sneak attack on Bailey Hongzhuang, his face was shocked. Bailey Yuyan's actions were simply too outrageous. He had thought that Bailey Yuyan wanted to kill the storm wolf, not kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Yuyan's heart was truly too poisonous. He wanted to step up and protect Bailey Hongzhuang, but the arm that was bitten couldn't even hold a weapon. Fighting with one hand behind his back, only half of his fighting strength could come out. If he stepped forward, he was afraid that the storm wolf would directly bite off his neck in one move. Under the storm wolf and Bailey Yuyan's attacks, Bailey Hongzhuang's advantage slowly started to slip away. After all, they were all at the initial stage of Mysterious Ian. Little Black didn't know when he had jumped onto Bailey Yuyan's body. He only knew that this woman was simply too shameless. He just had to teach her a lesson. Bailey Yuyan attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's vital organs relentlessly. Suddenly she frowned. A burst of pain appeared on the back of her head, but when she looked, there was nothing behind her. This was only Little Black's first attack. Very soon intolerable pain stabbed at Bailey Yuyan's back, forcing her to retreat from the fight. She struggled to look at her back, but she still wasn't able to see clearly. But the thick bloodstains left on the ground told her that her back was already wounded. Her scarred face turned confused. Bailey Yuyan looked around suspiciously. Was there another person secretly attacking from somewhere in the forest? But after looking around and finding nothing, Bailey Yuyan prepared to jump back into the fight. But just as Bailey Yuyan moved, another stab of pain pierced her back. Who's attacking me? Bailey Yin shouted angrily. This feeling when she couldn't find who was doing it was just too unbearable. Nobody answered her. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bailey Yin indifferently. She knew that it was Little Black and Little White. Borrowing this opportunity, she could quickly deal with the Storm Wolf before finally finishing off Bailey Yin. Bailey Hongzhuang unleashed all her strength. Raising her long double-edged sword, she prepared to fight directly with the Storm Wolf. Seeing this, Xin Yuan Huan could only think Bailey Hongzhuang was mad. A demonic beast's body was very strong. The human body simply couldn't even begin to compare to it. He had never seen a cultivator actually dare to recklessly face a demonic beast up front, but now it was happening in front of his very eyes. Breaking storm! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly. The qi stored within her body rotated strangely, forming a tyrannical force above her fists. Bailey Hongzhuang's shadow shifted, her fist like lightning as she punched the Storm Wolf's waist with a boom. She used her strongest and most powerful attack to strike at the Storm Wolf's weakness. She wanted to kill the Storm Wolf as soon as possible. This was the best way. Bang! A loud bang echoed. Xin Yuan Huan and Bailey Yin could only see a body fly in the air, landing heavily on the ground, making a cloud of dust. When the two saw the body on the ground, they sucked in a cold breath. It was the Storm Wolf. They were very clear about just how powerful the Storm Wolf was. But Bailey Hongzhuang just used a fist to send the Storm Wolf flying. Bailey Hongzhuang took advantage of the confusion to attack. Her sword reappeared in her hands, stabbing into the Storm Wolf's struggling body. Qi! Blood squirted into the air. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent as she briskly waved her sword, taking its demonic core. First place was hers. After she strared the demonic core away, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to face Bailey Yin. Little Black also quickly jumped back on Bailey Hongzhuang's head. Now it's your turn. Her words were cold and apathetic, voice cloaked with killing intent. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils shone with ruthless light. She won't miss this chance to kill Bailey Yin. Bailey Yin never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to deal with the Storm Wolf so fast. Thinking of the sword soaked in blood, she grew anxious and couldn't help but stumble backward. Bailey Hongzhuang, what do you think you're doing? Bailey Yin asked, flustered. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled demonically. She raised her black eyebrows, her voice bewitchingly low. You say, what do you think I'm doing? Bailey Yin looked at the unfamiliar Bailey Hongzhuang, unconcealed killing intent in her black pupils. She was very clear. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill her. Do you know the consequences of killing me? Bailey Yin's face was pale. She knew that her strength wasn't an opponent for Bailey Hongzhuang at all. Haha. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh. Her face suddenly changed, her eyes turning cold like a glacier. Who do you think you are? If I want to kill someone, do I need to worry about the consequences? Bailey Yin was startled, and couldn't help but swallow. Bailey Hongzhuang's words really left her speechless. Watching Bailey Hongzhuang walk step by step, Bailey Yin felt like she was stepping on her own heart. Her hand that held the sword couldn't help but tremble. Father won't let you off. Bailey Yin continued to persuade Bailey Hongzhuang. If she could leave the hunting ground safely, she could always take revenge later. It's not him that won't let me off, it's me. That won't let him off. Accept death. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were impatient. At first, she thought that Bailey Yin would still pick up her weapon and attack, but she didn't think she actually didn't even have the courage to fight. Crown Prince. Save. Traceless kill. Her sword flickered. Bailey Yin's body fell to the floor. Before her words "save me" could finish, Bailey Yin had already died under Bailey Hongzhuang's sword. Before Bailey Yin had poisoned her blind, and even let her live a life worse than death. Later, she destroyed Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance in dreams. Then she no longer cared about her. And now, Bailey Yin was just reaping what she had sown. Being kind to an enemy was being cruel to oneself. She won't give Bailey Yin another chance to try and kill her. Chapter 155. Bailey Yin looked at Bailey Hongzhuang incredulously. Even now, she still couldn't believe that she died under the hands of the same trash she had always disdained. Xin Yuan Huan watched, speechless for a very long time. Everything happened too quickly. Before he could react, Bailey Yuyan was already dead. Taking Bailey Yuyan's pouch, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Xin Yuan Huan indifferently before turning to the hunting field's exit. She already got the Storm Wolf's demonic core. Now as long as she can leave the hunting grounds alive, first place was hers. As for killing Bailey Yuyan, as long as Xin Yuan Huan didn't say anything, she didn't care. Watching her white robe fade into the forest, Xin Yuan Huan's heart was in chaos, filled with complicated feelings. From the beginning they were always blind. Bailey Hongzhuang was never trash. Only Dibei-chun truly had eyes, they were just fools. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked to leave the hunting field, everybody turned to stare at her. The fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had been in that fight against the Hellwolves had shocked many people. Now they didn't only know that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't trash, but that she also was extremely talented in fighting. Originally they had thought the champion was sure to be Xin Yuan Huan or Bailey Yuyan, but now they knew Bailey Hongzhuang was also very likely to get first. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi were just looking for the Storm Wolf. Even though they knew it was impossible for them to kill it with their own strength, being unable to hold back their curiosity, they wanted to witness the cultivator who would fight against the Storm Wolf. While they were searching, Xiao Zifan's gaze was suddenly locked on a white figure. In this emerald green forest, that moving white figure was especially eye-catching. Bailey Hongzhuang? Xiao Zifan asked, surprised. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard Xiao Zifan's call, her quiet and exquisite face lit up with an elegant smile. We meet again. Xiao Zifan led an unwilling Zhao Yunqi in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Right now we are searching for the Storm Wolf. Are you preparing to go back? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There's no need to look anymore. The Storm Wolf is already dead. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi were both startled. The Storm Wolf is already dead? Who killed it? The Storm Wolf wasn't easy to handle. Almost all the cultivators wanted to go and watch the show, but they never thought that it'd end before they even got there. The surrounding cultivators also turned to look at Xiao Zifan and Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. Since Bailey Hongzhuang was heading back, she should know something they didn't. I killed it, Bailey Hongzhuang said calmly. You killed the Storm Wolf? Zhao Yunqian asked, raising his voice. The fact that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to kill the Hell Wolf King truly exceeded her expectations, but she really didn't expect for Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to kill the Storm Wolf too. This time, the prize for first place was very rich and definitely should have belonged to Xin Yuan Huan. But now, how could Bailey Hongzhuang snatch it away? Zhao Yunqi's voice very loud, and all the surrounding cultivators heard those news. Suddenly, the gazes directed at Bailey Hongzhuang grew fiery. Zhao Yunqi wasn't able to control her voice and accidentally shouted it. The news spread as some cultivators stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, wanting to steal away the demonic core. After all, the emperor said whoever could bring the demonic core back, not whoever could kill it. Chapter 156. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned a little, her view of Zhao Yunqi becoming a little bit worse. Even though she had faith in her own strength, Zhao Yunqi's actions were tantamount to throwing her to the wolves. Xiao Zifan's face turned ugly, immediately speaking. Yunqi didn't do it on purpose, I'll apologize for her. He and Zhao Yunqi knew each other for many years. He knew she was only flustered and had lost her temper in a moment of impulse. But her heart wasn't bad and absolutely didn't intend to cause trouble for Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't do it on purpose. Zhao Yunqi's tongue got twisted as she talked. Although she did not want to apologize to Bailey Hongzhuang, this time it was truly her mistake. The displeasure in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes slightly faded away. From Zhao Yunqi's attitude, she knew this apology came from her heart. I'll leave first, Bailey Hongzhuang said, unhurried. Although there were quite a few cultivators that heard it, there weren't too many. These people wouldn't dare to do anything. Xiao Zifan nodded continuously. We'll go back with you. The news would spread quickly, so it was only inevitable for some cultivators to harbor bad intentions. After all, the temptation of a spirit beast was just too tempting. Zhao Yunqi didn't speak. Everything was because of her, so it was only right for her to do this. Hearing so, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't refuse. Let's go. Xiao Zifan was her friend. If she declined, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunqi would definitely think that she took offense. creating tension in their relationship. Sure enough, seeing Bailey Hongzhuang agree, a happy smile spread on Xiao Zifin's face. Fervent gazes stared after the three figures fading away into the forest. If they could defeat Bailey Hongzhuang, first place was theirs. Not only would they get the spirit beast they yearned for in their dreams, they would also bring honor to their ancestors, their reputation spreading far and wide. Feeling the eyes of the crowd, Bailey Hongzhuang's cold eyes swept through the crowd of people, indifferent and ruthless. The cultivator's originally fiery hearts seemed to have been doused by a bucket of cold water. How could they forget how strong Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was to be capable of killing both the Hell Wolf's king and the Storm Wolf? That one night, a girl facing the crowd in a crimson blood-dyed dress gave everybody a scene they could never forget. Although a spirit beast was good, they also needed to enjoy life. They still remember Bailey Hongzhuang's cruel, ruthless gaze after she killed the Hell Wolves. If they attacked Bailey Hongzhuang, they were afraid Bailey Hongzhuang would ruthlessly strike them dead. Their pounding hearts stopped. The crowd turned their eyes and walked away. And the crowd turned and continued to walk forward. Although they heard Zhao Yunqi's words, they all wanted to see the Storm Wolf's corpse with their own eyes. Watching the crowd leave, Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her gaze before continuing to walk calmly towards the hunting grounds entrance. Xiao Zifin and Zhao Yunqi looked at each other. After the battle with the Hell Wolves, Bailey Hongzhuang's fame had already spread far and wide. They only needed to look at their motionless hands to know the allure first place held. That strength was something only a few people possessed. I didn't think that the Storm Wolf would actually be killed by Bailey Hongzhuang. I was sure that the Crown Prince would get first. Why don't you just steal it? As long as we beat Bailey Hongzhuang, first place is ours. What a joke. Haven't you seen Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes? If we attack, I'm afraid our end will be even worse than the wolves. Everybody sighed with regret. When everyone heard the emperor declare the rules, they had already secretly decided to attack whoever killed the Storm Wolf for the demonic core. But Xianyuan Huan, the most likely person, was the one everyone had prepared for. Chapter 157. They didn't expect that the person who killed the Storm Wolf wasn't Xianyuan Huan, the person they had prepared for. The former waste has now terrorized every single one of them. On the high platform above the hunting grounds, the emperor and his chancellors ate pastries and drank tea, their eyes falling from time to time on the hunting field's exit. Today was the hunting competition's final day, the day where the results will be announced. The Empress Jiang Jining's eyes were filled with eagerness. She was sure Xianyuan Huan's strength was definitely enough to get first place. She truly couldn't wait to see Xianyuan Huan. Su Wanjing was also excited. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's strength surpassed her expectations, she was certain Bailey Yuyan's strength was enough to get second place. Although everybody exchanged greetings warmly, their focus had long been shifted. Suddenly, a noise sounded at the hunting field's exit, attracting everybody's attention. Never mind what achievements they got inside the hunting grounds, even getting out alive was pretty good. But they all hoped that whoever came out first got first place. Three figures appeared under the crowd's intense stares. When everybody saw the woman in front, their faces all turned a little strange. The first one to come out was actually Bailey Hongzhuang. Although this result was beyond everybody's expectations, their hearts also couldn't help but be a little curious. The imperial bodyguard said Bailey Hongzhuang killed the Hell Wolf King. After they heard the report, they still needed a very long time to accept it. Their hearts were just too shocked. Why did Chen Wangfei come out first? Did she already kill the Storm Wolf? What a joke. Even if Chen Wangfei isn't trash anymore, she still isn't His Highness S, the Crown Prince or Bailey Yuyan's opponent. In my opinion, I think His Highness, the Crown Prince already killed the Storm Wolf, so Chen Wangfei no longer saw any point in staying, leaving the hunting field first. Hearing his words, everybody nodded one after another. That was probably what had actually happened. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't pay any attention to everyone's conjectures. Xiao Zifin and Zhao Yunqi bowed and greeted the emperor before going to sit in the resting area. The results of the hunting competition are only announced after everybody comes out of the hunting ground, so for now, they could have a break. Zhao Yunqi sat in a soft, comfortable chair. Feeling her body relaxing, she thought this truly was the best. For the past 3 days, her body and mind were always tense. She didn't even dare to sleep well, afraid of the demonic beasts attacking at night. If they didn't react on time, they would lose their lives. Tasting the bitterness and hardship, she knew that kind of life was too unbearable for her. She never wanted to do it again. Xiao Zifan's heart was a bit tenacious. Although the life in the mountain ranges was definitely tough, he knew one couldn't achieve glory and wealth without having been through trials and tribulations. This was to reach the top. In these 3 days, he made even more progress than he did when he was cultivating at home for 3 months, and even managed to successfully break through to the late stage of Mysterious Earth. Although he didn't get into the top 3 this time, these gains were already a great surprise. Bailey Hongzhuang sat down calmly. There wasn't a single trace of tiredness on her beautiful face, every move rippling with elegance. It almost looked as if she had never gone into the hunting fields and was sitting there all along. Bailey Haoxuan stared at Bailey Honghaung. He had thought Bailey Hongzhuang would die in the hunting fields but didn't expect she would actually have such great luck. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.